On the Odyssey app is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan, an Odyssey sports station.
And Ohio State books a date in the Rose Bowl for the 17th time in school history. They're getting a rematch against #1 Oregon in the granddaddy of them all, New Year's Day.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
3 deep safeties for Minnesota. Gino looks, going to fire downfield. It's going to be intercepted. That's going to do it. He had to throw the ball to Gino because he got belted just as he threw the football. And he threw before DK ever came out of his back pedal.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Jaden Daniels. Can he work his magic one more time in D.C. with 10 seconds to go? Down by 5. Snap back. 4-man rush. Daniels fires over the middle. Caught! Crowder! Jamison Crowder! Down the middle, back of the end zone. And Washington takes the lead with 6 seconds to go.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader. 1080, The Fan. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
What is happening?
How we doing? How we feeling?
Oh, looking great over there. You
Thank
got the
you.
decorations. You got the hat on.
Yeah.
Are the light? I don't think the lights around your neck are on.
The battery's been dead for 2 years. I
That's a
bought these
bummer.
like 3 years ago. They only last about a year, but I still wear the necklace.
Yeah, what's the longest one of those strands has ever last somebody? The
No chance
necklace
past the year.
Christmas lights. There's no chance it
No
makes
chance.
it past
You
365
really are Cousin
days.
Eddie, aren't you?
Well, I'm forgetting right now, top of my head. Oh, it's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He has a scene when he goes to the island and he's about to eat dinner. Or no, he's checking into the hotel and he sees his girlfriend's there, his ex. He's like, I really wish I wasn't wearing this effing shirt. That's kind of how I feel a little bit. Like I'm in the spirit and you guys came in with none of it.
I don't know if I own any spirit, to be honest
That's
with you.
what Swag said.
I don't think I have any ugly sweaters. I definitely have one of those because we gave one to Teddy, the Christmas strand
the
light
matching
necklace.
family.
He likes chewing on the light bulbs. You know, we let him run around with those things. He just kind of puts everything in his mouth right now.
Eat a lot of paint chips as a
A
kid.
lot of paint chips, man. What's that get up to these days? He's eating a lot of paint chips, man. So I could have worn one of those. I don't think I even own a Santa Claus hat, to be honest with you.
Oh, I wear the Santa Claus hat every party.
You got one every year. I know.
every
I don't
year.
think I have one in the house.
At one point, but I'm not sure where it got off
You
to.
guys should have
It got
told me. I don't know
lost,
if
too.
you would have worn them, but I had. So we had like a house
I
party.
would wear a Santa hat.
Yeah, if you brought a Santa hat in, I would have rocked that today.
Well, I have a hat where it looks like half of an elf's body is in your head. The legs are sticking up. I should have brought that and given that to at least Dirt.
It's one of those things where maybe as he gets older, like holiday parties will become a more normal thing, or
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
but like I'll end up with an ugly sweater for an ugly sweater party. I was actually at the mall last week doing Christmas shopping, and I popped into Spencer's because I was hoping that they had like a farting Santa Claus or something, and I was going to give it to my niece and nephew because they would have gotten a kick out of that. They had no farting material, which I was a little disappointed by.
Yeah.
But I saw the ugly sweaters, and I thought, should I buy one of these? And then I decided not to, and I walked out.
Well, I have a couple ugly sweaters, but the thing about buying clothes, especially like niche clothes like that, I'm only going to wear it once or twice a year.
That's it. That's all you got.
Right? Like I had a family house party yesterday, and so we usually set up a photo booth in our house. So we have like the ring light, and then we have like some props like these glasses.
Yeah.
And you can get goofy with it.
Take your holiday photos.
But we put them in a box and we put it away.
Right. Nobody touches it.
Why do I want more ugly Christmas sweaters? I don't.
Right. I think now that I'm thinking about it, the only thing that I own is I have a Clark Griswold hockey jersey.
See, that would have been great.
I could have
That
worn
would
that.
have worked.
That could
that
that-
absolutely.
Now the problem was I got it off of Amazon like 3 years ago, and it came from China, and it was like 5 sizes too big. So it's
that
like
would have been funny.
it's almost like a nightie. It goes down to my knees a little bit. I haven't
great.
thrown it away to this point. I don't know why. Because
Even
I
better.
maybe wear it once a year, but that's all I got.
Look, Christmas is, I can bend Christmas a little bit. I love Christmas. But and we have a lot of Christmas audio, like rejoiners. When we come back from commercials, there's going to be a lot of Christmas-based stuff. One of them is John Madden. Because I don't know if you guys remember or knew this. The John Madden Life of John Madden documentary came out exactly a year ago, last Christmas.
Did it really?
Yeah, it was released on Christmas Day.
Interesting.
And,
I don't remember that at all.
And Rinaldi was asked why they decided to do it because he was like spearheading that project.
Yeah.
He said, because when I think of Christmas, I think of football. And when I think of football, how do you not think of John Madden?
Because I would have. Yeah, when I think of football, Thanksgiving comes to my mind before Christmas does.
They're talking.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know the NFL's playing on Christmas this year, but historically it's usually only been when it falls on a weekend.
But it's football season.
And now it is.
Yeah.
I mean, now they're expanding, and you're playing on 3 days rest, and turn around. Chiefs are playing again on Wednesday. Yeah, I would have never connected the dots there for Christmas, but I remember watching the documentary, just not that it came out on Christmas Day.
Now, how do we want to do this? We should just, I think, figure this out over the air. Because Swag was like, do you want to do it in the beginning or do you want to do it at the end? We have our annual gift exchange where we each get each other a gift.
We do. I'm worried that mine are going to be wildly unimpressive.
I mean, we don't really come into this thing with.
I know, but
$80
Swag's
gifts.
over. No, it's not an expense thing. It's like a thought thing. I don't feel like I put a lot of thought into
Sometimes
mine.
I
I
get
went
inspired, and other times it's hard. But this year both of mine were born out of segments on the show.
easy. Okay.
Well, I have something to confess to you.
See, that takes creativity. That's a thought.
It
There's
was
a
just-
moment
it
on the
was
show,
just
and then there's an action.
inspiration.
I got none of that.
And so you do a quick search. Is like, okay, can I find something appropriate? And I did. And fortunately, yours, Dirt's guy, I was worried it was going to be stuck somewhere over the Sierra Nevada mountains on a postal truck. Got stuck in the snow.
Well, can I give you advice here?
Yeah,
Because
what do
I'm
you got?
also not a very good gift giver.
Horrible gift giver.
Right? Especially for my wife. She buys everything every day.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, cool. Now I literally know what I'm supposed to buy her because she told me yesterday, in case you need to know.
Yeah, my
this
wife
is
did the
what I
same
need.
thing.
And I'm like, oh, great. That surprise is
Now
gonna
I
be.
have a list that you know exactly what's on the list, so you know exactly what you're going to open on Christmas.
I have, in my older age, when I have a moment with family or friends of people I know I'm probably going to buy a gift for,
Mm-hmm.
when something funny like he just cited on the show or in your personal life happens, I immediately open my notes app
Now you take a little note.
and I say, reference Christmas gift this moment. And when I circle back during Christmas time or before,
Yeah, it's
I
on
know
there.
what to do.
Now, how early are you able to do that?
I keep it tracked, so starting Jan 1,
Starting Jan 1 for
If
the next
you
year.
know you're gonna buy-
building that thing up.
your brother a great gift.
Right.
You don't know what it's going to be that year. And something happens in March that's funny that could circle back, put it in your notes app.
Yeah, see, the hard part for me is like my mind is so far from Christmas at that time of year that I don't even, it doesn't even, the dots don't even click for me.
That's fair.
Like in April, if somebody says something, if one of you guys say something in April on the show, like, God, I could really use a fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, Christmas. Now, if you tell me that in like the second week of October and there's a line there, then it's close enough in the calendar.
These occurred later into football.
Later
season.
into the year
Okay.
where it was a
Yeah.
debate. I like going easy this time of year. I don't put a lot of thought into things, so that you'll get the hint when you open your gifts.
Well, your expectation here, I think you're setting this too high as if what's the best gift we've given each other? I'm trying to remember what you gave me last year, to be honest with you, and I hate saying that.
I know you gave me I think you gave us the big necklaces. I think that was last year's Christmas
I
gift.
think that was 2 years ago.
Was that 2 years
yeah,
ago?
the big
the
LA
sports team
necklace.
necklaces.
The sports team
Yeah,
necklaces.
The big chain ones.
I still got that hanging in the garage.
Those are the last ones at that store that I got those.
Yeah,
One of the links came undone. I still have the LA part.
I mean, it was
that's up
trash
somewhere,
plastic,
but
so
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So it didn't close. It just kept coming undone.
Yeah.
I was actually really excited this year because my brother called me and he said, "What do we just feel about not doing gifts this year?" And I
That's a
said,
great
"That
idea.
sounds wonderful, buddy.
That's a great
That's
idea.
it. You guys don't have to worry about getting anything for us. Get stuff for the kids. We'll get stuff for Teddy.
Yeah.
Don't get anything for
Yeah.
me." And I was like, "Thank you. That
Yes.
sounds
No,
wonderful.
the extent of it with
One less
my-
gift I have to
Yeah.
worry about."
With the siblings now, with my siblings, it's like, okay, I know that they enjoy a particular spirit. So it's like, okay, a bottle of here you go for
Yeah,
you.
easy
Great.
gift.
And then we kind of spend more money on like on the food for the gatherings. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you'd rather
go-
have the party be
Yeah,
better
they're
than
doing
the-
they're doing Christmas Eve, so
Right.
I'm gonna go blow the budget on a ginormous charcuterie board.
There you
and
go.
that
Right.
sort of thing.
That's a good idea.
You drop it off Christmas Eve. There you go. There's a Merry Christmas.
And so so we'll all be over there, and then no, my mom decided she wanted to do prime rib,
Ah,
so I gotta go.
those are all over.
yeah,
Freddy's
so I'm
right
taking
now.
my Traeger over to her back deck on Christmas Eve, and it's got a brine or whatever it is for 24 hours, and then
it's a long process for a prime rib.
So we'll do a big prime rib and then do some honey glazed and roasted asparagus on the Traeger once the prime rib comes off to rest. And,
If I liked prime rib, that would sound amazing.
You don't like prime rib?
I think it's the most overrated holiday family get together.
More than turkey?
More than turkey?
Extremely.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the line that everybody probably says to you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Haven't had mine yet.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till you have my prime
the
rib.
rib's different.
Once you get my prime rib,
Look, I know
then you'll
Swag
be
can cook.
enlightened.
It's not a shot at the chef. I'd rather just eat steak. I'm already basically in the steak family, but I got the ugly cousin.
You are in the steak family. I wouldn't call it
Well,
the
the
ugly cousin, but I see
difficulty
the
is-
argument you're making.
Especially if you have, there's probably, 12 to 15 people coming, like doing 12 to 15 or 18, 20 steaks all at once is a little more cumbersome than just setting a giant
No, I get it. A big
prime rib
hunk
on
of
there
meat
for
just
4
cooks
hours
all
and-
day. I
yeah.
totally get the idea of it.
The aesthetic of a prime rib is nice too.
Oh,
Like
it's
putting
so
that
delightful.
putting that thing down and
Yep.
then cutting it, and you got your it's
Yep.
just it's delightful.
It looks amazing.
It
The
does.
color of it, I get all of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then I taste it. I'm like, it's fine, but it's like a worse version of a medium rare steak. I'd rather just have a medium rare steak.
Well, hopefully a little smoke flavor into it.
Yeah.
We're going to slather it up with Dijon mustard, herbs de Provence.
Now you just slather me up with some Dijon mustard.
Hey.
What did you say? Provence?
What are
Herbs
you
de
doing over
Provence.
there?
Oh, herbs de Provence. So what do we want to do? We want to do this in the front end of the show?
We
yeah,
could do
but
it. Maybe at 6:45.
6:40. Why
So-
6:45?
Well, I'm sure there's stuff you want to get into, or do you just want to get it out
It's
of the way now?
6:10 a.m. on the 23rd.
Let's get it out of the
It's
way.
Christmas
All right.
Eve.
Yeah,
so
I don't
let's
think
do
there's a
this.
large audience right now.
Yeah, no,
From December
A bonus
23rd.
for those that, although one person got up early and thinks you're dusty all of a sudden
Oh,
on the
okay.
YouTube.
Really?
You look
Yeah.
like Dusty.
Do I
They
look
said
like
they
Dusty?
I don't know.
Is that I'd take that as a compliment.
Yeah, Dusty's a good-looking
Hey,
guy.
somebody said I look like Dusty.
Somebody said I look like the CEO health killer, and I was like, thank you, actually.
Hey, the guy's a
Not mad
stud,
at
man.
that.
He's got great eyebrows.
Gorgeous.
He's got a six-pack. Look at him. He's tight.
All right, let's do this. Let's do it at 6:15.
Okay, when we come back.
We'll do some NFL stuff. There's a lot from the National Football League.
The NFL certainly outperformed the college football playoff this weekend.
Well, I
Oh,
saw.
not even close.
I think so. I think it was Dirt actually. I'm not on Twitter unless I'm on our show page anymore, and I saw him. Which one did you watch? And I'm like, this is not going to be remotely close.
No,
A lot of people turn those games off.
I was concerned.
Oh, on my poll question?
The college.
I was
versus
surprised
NFL.
as of this morning that college was still winning it.
Well, I mean, look,
It still is right now.
the Duck fan perspective is there, so I understand that. But like even that game, it was 40-10, and I'm like, bye bye.
Yeah,
Christmas
like
movie.
5 minutes into the third quarter,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of hope at the end of the half because it was 21-10 and Tennessee was getting the ball to start the second half. So it was like, all right, if they score here, maybe. And then they went 3 and out and Ohio State scored. And you're like, all right, this game's over.
Yeah, so we'll get to the college football stuff. I think I nailed Friday the prediction of if the results were what we thought they'd be, what the narrative was going to become very quickly. And it took one game for that to flip.
Yeah, and then it all of a sudden died on Saturday night. It
Oh.
didn't continue for some reason.
I wonder what happened Saturday
know
night. We'll get to that
why.
coming up as well.
Yeah.
The Daily Ticker is going to be a lot of us. It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So,
I love us.
yeah,
We love us.
we love us.
I'll interview you guys at 7:30.
I love
Sure.
it.
Holiday plans. Let's do it.
Yes, live from the studio.
Well, while we maybe drink a bad Santa on
Boots
the
on
air.
the ground. We'll do our gift exchange coming up next, and then we'll dive into it. It is a Christmas Eve edition. Dirt and Sprague on the saddles. Let's get it going. Gift exchange next on the Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
If any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there on Melody Lane with all the other rich people. And I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey he is. Hallelujah!
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
There's the Tylenol. Welcome back in. Dirt and Sprague with you on this festive Christmas Eve edition.
Ho, ho, ho.
My dad is continuing to be on it that Mahomes is faking this injury. We'll get to that coming up. Talk some NFL stuff.
Second time this year his season was supposed to be basically done, and he's just back playing, winning games the next week.
I text my dad back, I think you might be right, because that's the fastest I've ever seen him run, and I don't think you run your fastest with a high ankle sprain. But who am I? I'm not a doctor.
No limp at all right there. No limp at all.
We'll get to the college football playoff being nothing but a dud. And we'll talk some NFL today, maybe sprinkle in some crappy Blazers.
Ooh.
My red hot Beavs.
Did you know the Blazers played this weekend? 503-864-6326. Was that on your radar?
And they play tonight.
They play tonight, too?
They're in Big D.
They're back in action tonight?
How many does Luca have?
I'm in such a social media bubble that I'm like, everybody's watching the Blazers, and then I have to remind myself during the game, nobody's watching.
Nobody's
this.
watching.
No chance people are watching.
I mean, on weekends, like you fast forward like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
then I think we'll all be there of like, all right, football's dying down. There's no playoff game on today. But like on a weekend like this, with everything that was going on, I don't think it was high on people's radars.
We usually on this show, on our last show of before Christmas, we do a gift exchange. There's no set amount on the gift exchange, but I don't imagine largely spend a ton of money on each other.
No.
We all feel a certain way about gifts, and, we have what we need, and this is more for funski. So
This is fun and the thought that counts.
let's do this. You and I will open Swag's gift first.
Okay.
Okay?
Out of the bag.
Yeah, well, I don't have a bag. I have a
Oh,
big,
that's right.
I'm
you got a
hoping
different
this is
one.
a ladies with big boobs calendar
That would be
for
phenomenal.
my garage, for Arnie's.
Getting a big boob calendar is a solid Christmas gift.
I gave it to my brother-in-laws last year. They didn't
Did
put
you?
it up in their garage.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a good big boob calendar?
I thought it was funny.
I think it's delightful.
Not quite.
Okay, well, I'll let Dirt go
quite.
first. Let's see what
All right,
Dirt's is.
See what we got here, Swigard.
Oh, we got a
All right,
shirt.
We got a shirt of some sort.
We got a shirt.
I'm just waiting for the tie-in. What's the show tie-in
What's it
going to
say?
be? What do we got here?
Who is that?
Oh, you got me an Eli Drinkwitz shirt.
Drink up.
Drink up, baby! I like how the Missouri logo is still on the visor because he's only going to be there for another like 12 months until he, bails for a better job.
Your petty take, then you hate no
You
one
hate
more
him
in
so
college
much.
football.
I
than
hate Eli Drinkwitz. Oh my God, I hate this absolute
And
phony.
I just saw that. First of all, that's a quality tee. That's going to last
That's
you
a quality
while.
tee. This
It
is what I could tell by the fabric and the material. This is not going to shrink to a schmedium after one wash.
And that's kind of your philosophy in life is just
Yeah,
drink up.
Now, here's the other thing. One,
I love it. That's
if you look at that image, it kind of looks like they gave him a massive double chin,
Yeah.
It does a little
which
bit,
is
yeah.
good. And two, as somebody who also hates Eli Drinkwitz, I can't wait for him to only wear this on the weekends when Eli Drinkwitz loses.
Yeah, this will come out on Saturdays as like a victory cigar. This will be like the Swigard off the bench in high school
Yeah,
there you
basketball.
go.
Whenever they're losing a game, this is coming out in the fourth quarter to put them over the top.
I figured, Saturday when you're by
Well done.
yourself
Well
or
done,
whatever.
Swigard.
That's a good one. All right.
Sprague.
Mine's wrapped.
I know that you have you've been wanting more for your turntable.
Oh, my record player?
Let's
Yes.
go. Let's get classic.
What is this?
Turn it around.
Michael McDonald. That's fantastic.
Here's the situation.
Now that is new.
That is a playback on the show. I don't even remember when we did that segment. and that
November
stuff.
12th.
November 12th.
Remember the date well. For those wondering why it's Michael McDonald, we had a segment on the show where we talked if Swigard's ween sings like Michael McDonald. That was the whole point.
Oh,
Now that was that was older Michael McDonald.
Yes.
This is the good
Experienced
stuff.
Michael McDonald, new material he
All
did in
right.
2017.
He's got a song called Hail Mary and Find It in Your Heart.
Oh, you'll find that in your heart any day of the week.
Now, unfortunately, every time I see this, I'm going to think of your wiener. It's Swag's wiener on an album cover.
Nice little date night with the wife. You're cooking her some dinner. You want to set the scene with a record
That
player.
would be so funny.
This
That's
goes
just
on.
in the background,
goes
and
on.
she's like, "Oh, this guy."
Why are we listening to Michael McDonald right now?
I
Well,
will
babe,
never
it's a
make
long
love
story.
with this album. I feel like I'm borrowing your wiener.
The power of Swigart is flowing through you right now.
That is great. All right, Swag, let's do this. Let's do Dirt's gift, okay? So you grab Dirt's gift, very beautifully wrapped and
Very
put
beautiful.
together.
Oh, God, it took me an hour to wrap
yeah,
this
I bet
thing.
it did.
There's a lot of time and effort that goes into this.
Okay.
What do we got?
Oh, booze.
We got a little Tullamore Dew.
What do we got?
Got some Irish whiskey.
Got some booze.
All right, a lot of weed. A lot of weed.
Hey, and there's one more in there. There's
We
one
got
more
some-
in there.
We got some goodies.
Oh, we got some goodies for
Rice
your
Krispie
wife.
treats right there.
We
Perfect.
requested
You
these.
requested the Rice Krispie
Yes,
treats. She delivered the
excellent.
Rice Krispie treats this
That
weekend.
Is fantastic.
Look,
Thank
it's hard to
you
get
very
through the
much.
holidays. Everybody needs their libation.
I
So,
know.
if you need a little breather from family or you're too stressed out over what's going on, there's some booze and some weed for you.
I actually appreciate the gummies. These are going to come in clutch on Christmas Day
just
night.
kind of sitting around,
yes.
end of the night. Maybe there's a football game on, a basketball game on. You got your feet up on the couch. You're having a great time.
Thank you very much.
There you go, boys.
Yes,
know right
thank
where
you
my heart
very
is.
much.
Lack of creativity, but it feels like it still gets the job done.
Okay, now you have different sizes here.
Yeah.
This gift is from me. I'm going to need you both to open them and try to time them at the exact same time.
Okay, last one
They're
here.
related but not related.
Okay.
Okay?
Related but not related.
Related but not related.
All right, last one of the morning.
So you guys both have a box.
Is this good radio or is this horrible radio?
I don't care. It's Christmas Eve. They've gotten to the box.
All right, you ready, Swag?
Open the big
Okay.
reveal.
Big reveal is joy to the world. Look at that. Big
Look at
Ten
that.
champs, baby.
2024 Oregon State Conference champion.
Yes. Conference champs, baby.
Conference
We both
champs
won a
coffee
conference
mug.
championship this year.
Hey,
Congratulations
yeah.
to the
Ducks and
Beavers.
Beavers, conference champions.
And to the Ducks. I love it, dude. I actually saw one of these in the Duck store the other day, and I was like, should I buy that? They're like, probably not right now.
Now,
And then
did
look at that.
Uh,
Came around.
Did they actually make these?
So here's what's funny about yours. I saw yours a couple, not very long ago, and I thought, you know what? I know everybody has a lot of coffee mugs. Undefeated season.
Yeah,
Big
absolutely.
13-0.
Dirt
They
deserves
haven't made the
this.
T-shirts yet. I would have bought one of the 13-0 T-shirts, but I think they're waiting to see how the season
I
goes.
wanted to get you a T-shirt,
Yeah.
but I saw the mug, and so I'm like, you know what? He'll love that. That's an undefeated season. The record and the schedule's on
Yeah,
the back.
Every
It's great.
game's on there. It's perfect.
Swags is not actually, I think, officially from Oregon State. It's actually from the Damnation Collective. So I bought that and donated to an NIL
nice.
collective in lieu to give you a gift.
I think their idea behind Pac-2 championship branding, material, clothing, items, or
Yeah.
whatever is funding their transfer portal hits right now.
I think
Yeah.
it is.
I think a
helping
lot of people have gone to buy these things because it's a really funny play, as they should. It's been a
Yes.
hard 2 years. Let's enjoy this, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's showing right now in the portal. They keep landing guys left and right.
They got a guy from Nebraska, right?
They
At
did.
the defensive end. I'm
You
like,
just got a USC linebacker. You got,
let's go.
people are spending money down in Corvallis. Pac-2 champs, baby.
So I know coffee mugs can be a little cliche and everybody has a lot, but I thought, you know what? In a weird, unique year, both conference champions. Let's lean into it. Swag gets the conference mug. You get a conference
Hey,
mug.
get you one of these.
Get you one of
Get
those.
you
Get
one of
you one of
these.
these.
Conference championship,
Boy,
baby.
if you beat Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, that cup of coffee is going to hit a little harder.
Oh,
yeah.
I might have to take a Sharpie and write it down at the bottom. If they keep winning this year, I might have to go like Sharpie on the
Yes.
side. Ohio State, right in the score. Texas,
Yes.
Arizona State. We'll keep it going.
Now, my only regret, and not that I have many, because I think you like a good conference championship mug.
Who doesn't?
I tried to get you a shirt, a long sleeve shirt, and the website, I'd never heard of the website. And unfortunately, the shipping date was lining up with the 22nd, which, to Swag's point yesterday, makes you nervous.
Little hairy right there.
And it was going to be a T-shirt with this.
Dan the man.
Dan the man with an image of his face with headset on right next to it. And I was like, that's a cool gift, but the timing's too dicey.
That's a solid T-shirt. I actually have a funny story. Were you in the duck store to buy this the other day? Is that where you got it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
So we were at the duck store the other day, and my wife nearly punched an old lady in the face.
Your wife?
Yeah, it came close.
Wow,
I thought I was going to have to break up a cat fight out front of that place. We were walking out of it, and there was this old couple. The one over in the town center is where we were at. And there was this old couple sitting on couches, and we're walking out. We had done a little shopping. I bought something for myself, which is a massive issue that I have because I don't ever buy clothes. I'm in there. I'm like, oh, that's a nice sweatshirt. I'll get this.
Right.
Even though I'm not shopping for myself. And a lady made a comment to her as we're walking out, you might want to put a beanie on your kid.
Oh, no.
It was one of those again. It was one of those, and she like literally had it in her hand, but it's like I was holding the door first, so she just walked out first, and then we put the beanie on. We didn't have that far to walk. We were just going back into the mall.
Right.
And it came close. She like flipped her off as we were outside as she was putting the beanie on. I don't know why this couple was just sitting in there, not doing any shopping.
Was it on that couch to the left of the door?
Yes.
I saw an old guy sitting on that, too, when I was in there.
Camping out, an old gal and an old guy. It's like,
Wow.
oh, okay, we're having comments here as we're leaving the store. This is not going to end well.
I don't know what it is with slightly older people. Leave your commentary to yourself.
Nobody cares. Nobody needs you.
Yeah, I experienced this with my oldest, or maybe it was my youngest. She was 2, grocery store. She was in the seating area of the cart.
Yeah, the little front area, yeah.
And we're in line to pay, and my kid stands up, and she's like goofing. I'm literally right in front of her. This kid is not falling.
You're holding her.
And this old bag comes up and was like, you shouldn't do that. That's too dangerous. And it was like unsolicited.
Out of nowhere.
And it was not my wife. It was me. And I was like, mind your business.
Yeah, who the hell do you think you are?
What are you doing to me right now?
Do I come give you life advice? Do I walk up and knock on your door and tell you should do this or should do that? Why don't you go ahead and mind your own business?
I don't say this often. I don't want to body. I, in the moment, was like, yeah, and you're fat.
Yeah.
Why don't you lose more weight?
Oh, yeah? You're fat. I slept with your wife. What? Well, that got aggressive quickly.
I don't know what it is about older people that like they think they've conquered life so successfully that they're going to tell you what to do with your child, as if you're out there just gallivanting in the parking lot.
No shirt,
old
no
Teddy Ballgame
socks.
with
He's not wearing any
nothing on.
clothes. Let's get him sick. Let's roll him around in a puddle while we're at it. This is going to be fun. Like, yeah, we got a beanie, you old bag. We're going to put it on in 2 seconds.
To paint a picture for listeners, do you know what it takes to get Dirt's wife?
Yeah, it takes a lot.
To flip you off
Yeah.
and be mad and want to fight you?
It takes a lot. That's when you start questioning her, because it's such an insult, because it's a questioning to your ability to be a parent.
As if you don't know it's cold
and like
outside.
not taking care of your child, and we're just out willy-nilly, let's not take any care of it. I understood why she got pissed. I didn't hear it because I walked out first and I can't hear anything to begin with.
Right.
And then I'm like, why are you mean mugging this old lady still in the stores? We're outside of the store. She told me the story and I was like, all right, I'll give you the green light to flip her off.
We'll get out of gift giving mode, but I want to add, you did something that I always do, and it's a little bit of a problem. I don't honestly buy myself a lot of stuff. I have clothes from 10 years ago that I get made fun of for wearing certain pants by my brother-in-law because he gave them to me 12 years ago, and I still wear them once in a while.
Do they still fit? Is there a hole?
No, but they're track pants, and they probably need to be thrown out, but I don't care.
It works.
I seem to only buy myself stuff when I'm shopping for other people.
Yeah, I do exactly the same. It's the only time I ever buy myself clothes.
I'm like, oh, that's great. I would like this.
This looks
actually.
nice. Walking out of a store, I went to like Dick's the other day, and I'm walking out, and I got 3 things in here. They're all for me. I'm like, damn it, I came here to Christmas shop.
How did I get golf balls?
Whoa, what happened here? I do need some Pro V1s, though.
I want to tell you, Swag, and this is no knock to myself or Dirt, because I cannot wait to have a Rice Krispie treat from Mrs. Johnson. I think you won Christmas this year. These are
the
great
Michael
show
McDonald,
references.
the record and the Drinkwood shirt, that's solid right
Well
there.
done by you. Well done by you.
You win in creativity this year.
Well, thank you guys for giving us a couple of memorable segments. Like those two were going in a best of show if I had to do a best of show.
There could be much worse people for your wiener to sound like than Michael McDonald.
Hey,
much worse.
I feel more worse for you. Now you can't enjoy
Now. If I'm ever feeling down, I might just play it to smile.
There you go.
Could get real dark in 2025. Who knows?
Yep. Make sure that needle's sharp.
Let's get to some National Football League stuff, and then we'll dive all the way into the college football. We had maybe the best moment of the entire weekend, including the games, was something that happened on game day with a comedian, and we'll get to that coming up. So Dirt and Sprague back with some NFL talk next on The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, well, it was a lot of chalk. Not much drama round one of the college football playoff. The higher-seeded home teams all advancing to the quarterfinals with convincing wins, including Ohio State, who thumped Tennessee to set up a rematch against number 1 Oregon on New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. The Buckeyes currently 2.5-point favorites. Seahawks faint playoff hopes down to a flicker after they fall at home to the Vikings 27-24. That leaves the NFC West division title as their only path to the postseason. They'll need to win their last 2 games and hope their strength of victory is good enough to win the tiebreaker. Monday Night Football takes us to the frozen tundra for the Saints and Packers. Green Bay trying to keep pace with the Lions and Vikings in the NFC North, looking to lock up a playoff spot with a win. Packer 14-point favorites. Blazers' final game before the holiday break takes them to Dallas. They'll face the Mavericks at 5 o'clock on KATU Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Dallas a 10-point favorite. Oregon State Beavers are in Hawaii for the Diamond Head Classic. They beat Charleston in the quarterfinals, 74-65. Today at 5 o'clock, they'll face Oakland in the semifinals on ESPN2. Bees 10.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has a This is Dirt and Sprague.
Santa, I know that Christmas Eve is in a couple days, and you have to fly around the whole world and give presents to everyone, and you won't be around anymore.
Yeah?
So I thought I'd give you a present now.
What the is it?
It's a wooden pickle.
Why'd you paint it brown?
It's not paint, it's blood from when I cut my hand making it for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
A wooden pickle would have been delightful as well.
Would have been a great Christmas gift.
Why'd you paint it brown?
I'm going to whittle one down for you next year. You guys want one pickles for Christmas next year?
My oldest saw me clipping some, I got rejoiners for the whole show, and she goes, "What movie is that?" And you're not old enough yet.
Yeah, a couple more years. You're almost there.
She literally looked over, and her G-string was in his mouth. That's the snapping sound that you hear. You're not old for that one.
Yeah, quite yet. Give it time.
So, do you guys want to give me more gifts in my flowers now for being right about how the Buffalo Bills should build a dome for Josh Allen, or do we want to keep acting like playing in the cold weather is good for him?
Playing in the cold weather is great for him. He's big, he's strong, he's talented, and it's an advantage over other quarterbacks.
That's honestly one of my takeaways from the weekend, as dumb as it is. They beat the Patriots. The Patriots got a garbage touchdown, but it was a dicey game. It was cold. It was frigid, and he could not do half of what he had just done against Detroit, what he did against the Rams, because guess what? Playing in 10 degrees is hard.
Well, I would say he did it a couple weeks ago in a snowstorm against the Niners. I think a lot of that had to do with them just not caring about that game.
Yeah, they certainly
I think that was a vibe of Buffalo showing up saying, we're going to win.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
Give a dome.
I mean, they're going to get a dome. They got a dome coming. Is their new stadium going to be a dome?
No.
It's not a dome stadium?
You're thinking of Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Cleveland, and they're pissed.
Because I thought Buffalo was going to try and host like a Final Four, and they were going to build a big dome.
That's why Cleveland's
stadium.
building a dome, because they want
wanna
concerts
host.
and Final Fours to be at the new venue.
It's lake effect snow, baby. They might end up with the number 1 seed. They're still in contention for it. Playoffs
the
might have
only
to
way
run
they're
through
gonna see
Buffalo.
a Super Bowl in Cleveland.
Yeah, probably, honestly, yeah.
I mean, they've played Super Bowls in Minneapolis. I mean, Detroit's had Super Bowls over the years.
You know why?
Cleveland will get one.
Domes.
I mean, that's the argument for a dome, honestly, is Final Fours and Super Bowls and national championship games you could get. That, to me, that just screamed them being like, we're coming off a big win on the road over Detroit. We're feeling great. We're in the locked-up division title. Let's just go through the motions and win this game.
I got a lot of takeaways from the weekend. That loss by Philadelphia was awful. Knock, knock. Who's there? Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow might be in the playoffs.
He very well could be.
We'll see about that. He needs some stuff to break his way, and they take on Denver this coming weekend.
If they beat the Broncos this weekend, all of a sudden that is very interesting.
I've said it probably before. I'm going to say it again on this show, and this is the final time I will say it. I am absolutely done betting against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's either on the Chiefs or I'm not betting on the game in general.
Stay away.
I jokingly say this, but I'm kind of I don't think he's hurt, and I know we're acting like you can't run that fast with a high ankle sprain. I don't care what you've been shot up with. They're inevitable, and I feel bad for Tank Dell's kneecap. It should not be in that place.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment in that game. And then Kansas City, I guess, mocked his celebration at the end. I guess he's got a special celebration that he does. And a couple of players on the Chiefs did it at the end of the game, and that pissed everybody in Houston off. They were all livid. C.J. Stroud was crying, and then people questioned, can you return to playing serious football that quickly, and did it affect them at the end of the game? That was at least compelling. I mean, that was one of the more entertaining games of Saturday because the college games were all blowouts. Anybody who thought Patrick Mahomes was hurt and then you watch him, explain to me where the injury is.
High ankle sprain does not allow a guy to move like that.
He's played injured before. He did it in the playoffs a couple of years ago where he was hobbled and kind of moving on one leg. Remember the year Chad Henne had to come in and close out the Cleveland game, I want to say? He converted the fourth down. Like, he's had years where he's hurt and he's been extremely limited in his mobility. That was not the case on Saturday.
What's your takeaway from the weekend in the NFL?
One big takeaway.
I don't know if there's one per se, but I don't know who's going to win the NFC. Not a clue. Is it Minnesota?
Yeah.
Is Sam Darnold going to win the NFC? And what the hell are they going to do with Sam Darnold and McCarthy?
It would be wild if it happened.
Are the Eagles just
now? Is Darnold
is
he a flat out unrestricted free agent after this?
I believe it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
or
I believe
do
he
the
signed a 1-year
Vikings
deal.
have some sort of option or something?
It's either a 1-year deal.
I mean, they can
or
tag
he has
him
an
if they
option.
want. I don't know if he signed a 1-year, $10 million deal.
He signed a prove it deal.
Yeah, he is up with an $8 million signing bonus.
They're not going to tag him. They got a rookie quarterback. There'd be no point in having a rookie quarterback if you're going to tag him. You're going to sign him or you're not going to tag him.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe they don't feel like like McCarthy's ready for one more year and they want to have him be around for? Are you going to sign Darnold to a long-term extension? Because he's going to get an offer in the open market.
I know he's going to get a Geno Baker deal.
Is if he gets somebody wants to give him,
he's going to get the Baker deal, right?
3 years.
He
or
should. He
4
deserves it.
years,
He's been outstanding.
He
this
has
year.
been
$5 million a year, whatever the going rate is for a just below. He's not going to get the max, but
I just think this stuff is so. You know what the most difficult thing, and it's not games per se. There were a lot of game moments that we could talk about this weekend. After like 4 to 5 guys, there's so many debatable quarterbacks of like, do you or don't you?
Oh, they're all in that same category together.
But you kind of have to. But you have absolute moments where you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners will go through this offseason with Purdy. They're going to have to do that whole thing.
And Dirt, I don't know if I want them to. I don't
would
know.
you rather have? Whatever you're going to give.
Go back to Sam Darnold as your quarterback.
Whatever
sign
you're
that contract instead of Purdy.
If that's Darnold now, maybe
Purdy,
yes.
Yeah, whatever you're prepared to offer him, is it a better value to offer that to Darnold? That's the question.
The interesting thing about Darnold, too, and I think you compare him with the quarterback who was playing alongside him in that game. Geno Smith threw 2 picks, should have been 3, but a couple of them were not very good throws. Now, he wasn't terrible the entire game, and Jigba was incredible.
He was good and bad.
He was good and bad. It was a perfect Geno Smith game, and then there was a head-scratching interception. The whole idea about Geno Smith and where do you go, and is he your friend? He's 34 years old.
Yeah.
So he's up there in age. Sam Darnold's only 27.
I know.
So if you want to sign him to a 5-year deal,
you're going to get his prime years.
You're getting his prime. Like, you're not signing him until he's 39 years old.
This is who he is in a good situation.
He has been outstanding. He didn't throw a pick again this weekend. 3 touchdowns. Like, yes, the weapons help. Yes, the system helps, but he is filled in seamlessly from where they were offensively under Kirk Cousins. If they win a playoff game or 2, you have to bring him back. I just genuinely believe that. I don't know how you look in that locker room and you tell them, we got a guy he's got 32 touchdowns and 11 picks right now. Where are his numbers going to end up?
Is McCarthy going to have a year like that in his career? You have to ask that, right?
And especially right out of the gate, where you're a team that if you're showing that you can contend this year, let's say you win a playoff game, they might still win the division. They still got a shot at it. They got Detroit coming in a couple weeks. They got Green Bay this weekend. So you win those, you're going to end up winning the division and maybe getting the number 1 overall seed in the NFC playoff picture. If he's north of 4,000 yards, he's already at 32 touchdowns. Let's say he throws conservatively 4 more.
3-to-1 TD to
36 touchdowns to 12 picks, 4,000 yards. That's a franchise quarterback. And
That's
I don't
better
know
than almost any other quarterback in the league.
And I don't know if J.J. McCarthy's ever going to be able to do that. And how do you look in that locker room and say, we're going to take this guy who's a franchise guy and we're going to go with the unproven guy, and there might be a massive step back?
I got a couple of things. I want to carry it over, actually. I thought I'd get to college at this point. I'm not going to. I'm going to more NFL because the NFL was great this weekend, and it's kind of winding down, and now here we are, playoff positioning. There's a lot left over. We'll get to the college stuff at the top of the hour. Your Ducks, coincidentally, coming in. Nobody's buying them.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
Boy, an underdog.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
Odds to win the title.
Let them keep sleeping, baby.
That line keeps going in favor.
I'm just happy that if we're going down, I get to go down saying nobody's giving us a chance. That's all I'm happy about.
The overall 1 seed. We're going down.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
So we'll get to all of that coming up top of the hour. Shane Gillis pissed off Nick Saban this weekend, which was fantastic. We'll get to all of that at the top of the hour. Back with more NFL on the Fan.
Dirt and Sprague.
Fog as thick as peanut butter.
You mean pea soup.
You eat what you like, I'll eat what I like.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
That's me talking about prime rib. You eat what you like, and I'll eat what I like.
Yukon Cornelius, man, a legend.
Underrated.
Helped save Christmas.
Yeah, he did.
Out there with his beard, getting the job done.
Tame the beast. No, that was there's a fun weekend of football, I thought, in the National Football League. I believe we all did well in Sprague Line.
I was 2-1. You were 2-1.
1-1.
He's waiting for tonight.
I need the pack to
lay the wood.
Open up a can.
Oh, that's right.
I laid the wood with the pack.
I might lay the pack this coming weekend in their Minnesota tilt.
Ooh, you going against Sammy D?
It's a little
Is that
bit
game
of
at Lambeau?
No, it's in Minnesota.
In Minnesota this week?
Yeah, remember because they came out the gate 28-0 at Lambeau
Early in the year. That's right.
And Jordan Love's numbers at the end of the season are just stupid. It doesn't make it. He's not very good in the beginning, and then he's amazing at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dirt. I'll be honest with you. I watched some of that San Francisco-Miami game because I'm a Niner fan, and also Miami's still in the thick of the wild card race.
They're still alive.
And I know it's so reactionary, but like you kind of have to react with the amount of years left. Like if Brock Purdy's going to demand top 6 pay, what about that makes me feel great?
Nothing at all.
So I don't know what these teams do, man. This is such a tough thing to balance because yes, Geno, Baker, Sam Darnold. I know people say this is an anomaly of the NFL, but you know what? So was passing a ton in a game, and then eventually it's the norm. There's just going to be guys, I think, the way football goes now, that guys don't work in one spot and they can work in another. Russell Wilson, right? He was flourishing in a Hall of Famer in Seattle, goes to Denver, his dream spot, gets his dream coach. That coach hates him. He's a bum. Get out of here. And I know they lost this weekend, but look at Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson. They're much better than they were with Fields. And so it's like, I wonder if teams are going to start punting on saying, yeah, I'm going to pay the 5'11", 6-foot quarterback who gets all his passes batted down at the line, top 6 money, in lieu of I'd rather have a reclamation project for cheaper that I know can operate in my system.
It's funny because we always follow, or not we, the teams always follow trends in the NFL. And for a while there, it was all about just getting the guy on the rookie deal and capitalizing while they're on the rookie deal. That's the only chance you have to win in the NFL.
Right.
Once you pay a quarterback, you can't win, blah, blah, blah. And then Mahomes won. And it's like, oh, okay, I thought you couldn't do that. I do think if you see one of these guys go on a serious run, that might be the missing ingredient, although it's a little ironic and funny because we had a reclamation project be in the NFC title game last year. Jared Goff's a reclamation.
Yes, he is.
He might win a Super Bowl this year. The Rams gave up on him. They sold him to Detroit of like, dude, whatever, we'll just take him, okay? We want Stafford, whatever else you want in that trade, we'll get it done. And Detroit was like, all right, sure. And then he ended up playing great for them. If you get him going to a Super Bowl, if you get a Darnold going on a run, we'll see if Tampa makes it after that loss last night. That was a head-scratcher for them because now all of a sudden the division is still in play. And so we'll see what ends up happening in that case study. But if you get one of these quarterbacks going on a run, I wouldn't be shocked at all if this becomes the next trend because you're stuck in a rock and a hard place with a lot of these situations. Miami made the decision this offseason. It's funny you bring up the Niners because they played Miami this weekend. What do you do with Tua? And they had to decide, do we pay him or do we not? Now, I disagreed with it at the time, but mainly because of his injury history. It's not of who he is as a quarterback. He's limited in cold weather. He doesn't have the strongest arm. But it's the injury history. He ended up getting banged up this year, and it kind of tailspun Miami season. So I think you're stuck in these tough calls of do we want to give a guy $50 million or do we move on? There's not always going to be the reclamation project available, but if Minnesota decides to move on from Sam Darnold and they say, you know what, we took McCarthy with a top 12 pick, that's going to be our guy next year, dude, I would rather have Sam Darnold for whatever his asking price is going to be than a lot of these guys are going to be making $50, $60 million.
So I looked at the standings right now. In the AFC, you've got 4 of the 7 current playoff teams. If these are the playoff teams in the AFC, 4 of the 7 are guys that gotten paid.
Yep.
Now, your rookie scenarios or your cheap contract scenarios are obviously Bo.
They're there.
Houston still hasn't paid Stroud. They don't need to.
Yep.
And Denver is paying Russell Wilson, who is on like the cheapest deal for a starting quarterback in maybe the National Football League outside of the rookies. You got Mahomes, you got Allen, you got Lamar, and you got Herbie have all been paid.
Yes, they have.
In the NFC, Goff just got paid. I know Hurts has the concussion, but Hurts has gotten paid. Stafford's gotten paid. The Falcons are in a weird one now where they're playing a rookie.
but they did pay their quarterback.
But they paid their quarterback,
Yeah.
so that's kind of an in-between there.
Love got his deal.
Love just got his deal, but I don't think it's kicked in this year. And then you've got Jaden and Darnold on rookie/cheap deal.
Yes.
So it's like, are they going to win with those, or are you going to take the usual suspects at the top of those conferences to come out? Like, if you're picking the AFC, you're probably just going to take Kansas City because prove it. You know what I mean?
It's
Get in a tight
Kansas
game
City.
and win it.
Yeah.
And I don't know who you'd lean the NFC, but you're probably going to take one of the top 3 teams.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Love's in this, but again, I don't think his contract hits this year, but they did pay him.
They did.
So yeah, what you do at that position, it's fascinating. It takes so much for a team to even get to the playoffs. Harbaugh had a great quote after they beat Pittsburgh. Like, hey, you made the playoffs again. Like, how do you feel you're not, leading, or you're about to lead your division, or you're in that race? And he basically was like, I'm just happy to make the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
It's all I care about. We did it again. Good for us. That's all that matters. And so navigating the quarterback stuff and how you pay and who you pay, good luck to any general manager, because we can criticize all of these dudes for decision making. Do you pay Tua? Do you pay Brock Purdy? Do you pay this guy or that guy? Those people are more informed than us, but it's hard to really have hard criticism when you have to have something there that you can rely on. And what Minnesota's gotten from Darnold is a nice surprise. I don't know if you pay it or if you move on to McCarthy.
That's the hardest thing, is that we all want to look at it from the outside looking in and say, I wouldn't pay that guy. And that's great. You don't think Brock Purdy, for example, deserves $50 million a year. Okay, I don't disagree with you. What are you going to do?
I know.
What's the alternative?
Who is even the Darnold Baker next year?
What if Darnold's not available? What if Minnesota decides to lock him up? So what reclamation project is going to be available? What guy's going to be on the open market? Are you saying you want to go draft a guy and you're going to start all over again with another rookie quarterback? Like, what's the move there if you don't think that he's – I don't disagree with the idea.
If the Falcons cut him, you want Kirkers?
You want to roll the dice on that after watching him play this year, not having a touchdown for 2 months?
Yeah. Nimick threw that at me and was like, hey, if Brock doesn't take X amount, you go with Kirkers. And I just said, what's the payoff of that? You can't just say, veteran guy that works. You got to have in your mind, what's the payoff, right? If you pay Brock Purdy, you're saying – we can win the whole enchilada.
Atlanta's got a good team. They got a lot of weapons. I know Kyle Pitts is a bit of an issue right now, but it's not like he's working with nothing in Atlanta, and he was terrible for the last 2 months.
Penix was a game manager yesterday. He wasn't like awesome. He wasn't awful. He made a couple big explosive plays happen, and they just boathoused a bad team.
2 pick sixes help a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boathousing a team does sound like fun, though.
It sounds better than boat racing,
It does.
actually.
Let's boathouse.
Boathouse. You go to Shasta Lake, you don't boat race, you boathouse. Did we just change a phrase?
I think we
hope
did.
So.
I think we're running with
We'll
that
see
one
if
now.
that picks up. It's our Christmas gift to you.
Poll question. Would you rather boat race or boat house?
Yeah,
I'd rather boat house.
I think I'm boathousing them.
I don't want to go fast on a boat.
I hope we boathouse the Buckeyes on January 1st.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's get to some college football stuff. The playoff games were a dud. A comedian pissed a legendary coach off. And Dirt's Ducks flying under the radar as the overall #1 seed in this thing. Make it make sense. We got a lot to get to. Hour 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
On the Odyssey app is KFXX, KWJJ, HD2 Portland, 1080, The Fan.
Let's stop having fun.
We have to focus.
That's right.
An Odyssey Sports Station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Big's Chicken. Try their smoked and fried wings tossed with a perfect dry rub, served with a trio of killer sauces. Menus at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan. Very little drama in round one of the college football playoff. All the higher-seeded home teams advancing to the quarterfinals with convincing wins, including Ohio State, who thumped Tennessee to set up a rematch against top-ranked Oregon on New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. Buckeyes currently 2.5-point favorites. Seahawks of playoff hopes down to a flicker. They fall at home to the Vikings, 27-24. The only path to the postseason is now winning the NFC West. They need to win their last two games, which includes the Rams on the final Sunday of the season, and then hope their strength of victory record is good enough to win the tiebreaker. Monday Night Football from the frozen tundra tonight. The Packers welcome in the Saints. Green Bay trying to keep up with the Lions and Vikings in the NFC North, trying to clinch that playoff spot with a victory. The Packer 14-point favorites. Blazers' final game before the holiday break is in Dallas to face the Mavericks. 5:30 tip on KATU Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Mavs are 10-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
I had to shop late because it's the busiest time of year for me. All these important Christmas letters that people send to folks they don't even talk to but once a year. Not to mention relatives sending presents they're going to have to send back anyway. How many toiletry kits does a man need?
This is Dirt and Sprague.
How about these little stupid letters from kids to Santa at the North Pole? Dear Santa, could you send me a bike and a slinky? No, your father's been laid off.
Andy Dirt Johnson.
Man, where have you been? Don't you watch TV? We are being set up by rich and powerful toy cartels. Now you got these big fat cats sit there using working class just like me and you. They spend billions of dollars on TV advertisement, and then they sit there and use subliminal messages to suck your children's minds out.
And Brandon Sprague.
And I know what I'm talking about because I went to junior college for a semester and I studied psychology, so I'm right in there. I know what's going on.
Dirt.
They sit there making kids feel like garbage. If you, the father who's working 24/7, delivering mail so you make an alimony payment to a woman that slept with everybody at the post office but me.
Sprague.
And then when you get the toy, it breaks and you can't fix it because it's a little cheap plastic.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
You know what I like to do? I like to walk up in the office, grab one of those guys, and just chuck until I found out.
The Fan.
Welcome into hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course YouTube.com/1080 AM The Fan.
Look at us in here grinding on December 23rd.
Oh, we're grinding hard,
grinding
baby.
away today, baby.
I gave you the longest cuts of that open because internally I know that's exactly how you feel about life.
Walking around with all this internal anger.
You wait until those rich toy cartels start brainwashing little Teddy ball game. Dad, I need this new car.
I had such an I told you so moment with the wife last night. We were playing with the little guy before bedtime, and he is enthralled with paper towel rolls right now. Like if you hand him an empty paper towel roll, he just laughs. Just thinks
like
it's
a hamster.
like just uncontrollably laughing. And I just looked at her and was like, we could have just wrapped 10 of these.
Yeah, but where's the fun in not having the light-up toy that makes noise?
That's going to be an extra thing of crap that I got to store in the garage year-round.
How close are we to walking? Are we standing up? Are we couch
very
surfing?
interested in walking. He's crawling literally everywhere, will not stop moving, but he has not quite taken to the idea of standing up quite yet. He's not a huge fan of the just let me crawl. That's where his mindset is right now.
Couch surfing?
Not couch surfing quite yet.
Pulling ourselves up on the couch, moving around, walking that way.
He likes doing it like if we lay on the floor, he'll like crawl up onto you and use you to pull himself up.
Sure.
But a lot of crawling right now. So we got to keep him caged in. It's a complicated thing.
Do you still when he yawns, do you put your nose in his mouth and still sniff his breath?
I do not do that. No.
I miss that the most.
Yeah.
Baby breath?
Baby breath.
Oh. You not baby breath fans?
I'm not anti-baby breath.
Not particularly.
Yeah, when my kids used to yawn, I used to just lean in. Oh, I love you so much. Their little lungs are still so clean.
They are.
Their breath doesn't stink. The boob milk, I think, makes it more pure.
Yeah, there's definitely something to that. I'll go sniff it when I get home today. I'll let you know.
You
Report
wait.
back.
He's going to be laying down next to you when he's like 5. He's going to lean over and you're just going to smell. Like, oh, my God. Get away from me.
Go brush your teeth.
You disgust me.
You smell terrible.
You know, Rice Krispie treat already over there?
Yeah. How are they? Are they good?
No, they're still the cookies from the weekend. They're still good.
Oh, you're eating that? That's brave of you.
Cookie at 7 o'clock in the morning. Bold move, Cotton.
Especially one that's been out since last Friday.
Hey, cookies are cookies.
No, I took a little. There was a little like chunk, so I just checked them. No, they're still good.
We know Oregon's opponent, the Rose Bowl.
I'm a little disappointed, but I'm more disappointed that Tennessee didn't show up.
Well, if
for that
that's
game.
Tennessee, I don't want Tennessee, Oregon. I'd rather have Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah, speak for yourself. If that's Tennessee, I'd much rather play them.
Yeah,
they find a way to win that game, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Who took Chip Kelly into a broom closet and threatened his entire being by saying, "You better throw the effing football this time"?
Yeah, your best player is a freshman wide receiver. Get him the damn
God,
ball.
that kid. Where would that kid get drafted? If
Number
we didn't
one
have
overall.
I mean,
I genuinely believe if he could come out
He's
right now, he would be
unbelievable.
the number 1 pick in the draft this
I think
year.
he would be a top 8 receiver in the NFL if he could go right now.
Yeah.
I honestly think he's that good.
He's that. I mean, there's a lot of guys that come through this way that pop at an early age, and you look at them and you think the college rule is so dumb.
It's
the fact that we got to wait this guy's got to play 2 more years of college football. He should enter the portal every year and just get the biggest bag wherever he's going.
I've been saying this. He should just break free agency every year.
Somebody's going to pay you $20 million next year to go be a wide receiver at their school. That was the head scratcher for me that I'm having a hard time with, because that was really the only game of the week that I went into. I told you the other games were going to be blowouts. This was the only one that I had any hope for, and you ended up being completely right. I mean, it was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. You're like, oh, my God.
I wasn't happy to be right.
Tennessee can't get a first down. Ohio State is scoring touchdowns every time they touch it. You had the brief moment at the end of the half where it was 21-10. Tennessee was getting the ball to start the second half. You're like, all right, if they score there, we all of a sudden have ourselves a ball game, and that didn't happen, and it was 35-10 at the end of the third quarter. I just have a hard time looking at it and saying, how much of it was just Ohio State clicking and finding their right gear? And if they do, dear God, that's going to be a really tough team to beat. And how much of it has to do with Tennessee just having a horrible game plan? Like, they came in, we all talked about this game until we were blue in the face for the last 3 weeks, whenever we found out when the bracket was. What did we all say Ohio State's game plan offensively was going to be? Throwing the football.
Yeah.
They can't run the ball like they did against Michigan. They know that their offensive line is a concern. They're going to come out and be aggressive. They have to be. Their season is on the line, and everybody wants to fire their coaching staff. And Tennessee came out playing like tight, single high man-to-man defense, and they just got burned all day. Michigan gave them a bit of a blueprint where they kept 2 high safeties. They bracketed the number 1 wide receivers on each side if they could. And they said, we dare you to run the football. And Ohio State couldn't run the football. And instead, Tennessee came out. They were aggressive, and they left their corners on islands, and Ohio State absolutely torched them.
Yeah, even at 21-10, I give you a little bit of the – because I think, you snort this sport, and I love it too, and a lot of our listeners love it too. The unfortunate thing was, I know Clemson cut it to 1 score, and I know there was moments, and I know Tennessee got it to, I think, 21-10 at halftime. I just never thought either one of those teams was either going to come back and tie and win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Clemson was doing on 4th and goal to just run up the middle on that defensive front. And even at 21-10, I'm like, Ohio State scores again, and this thing's absolutely over.
Yep.
I was a little disappointed. It started off with, it kind of gave us a preview of what was to come. Indiana and Notre Dame.
Friday night,
standalone game, South Bend. Here we go, cold weather. And we had Kirk Signetti went on game day because they were live on Friday. They also had Shane Gillis on this edition because he's an Irish fan.
Yes, he is.
And Signetti said this on game day before their playoff game against Notre Dame.
There's a lot of skeptics. There's a lot of doubters. I get it, right? Haven't beat a top 25 team. Nebraska's 25th in the coach poll. We beat their 56-7, And I've never beat a top 25 team. Well, Coastal Carolina back when we were little James Madison, moving up to the Sun Belt there, 22nd end of the year, we beat them 47-7.
Okay.
So we don't just beat top 25 teams, we beat the shit out of them.
Okay.
And then Indiana was down, I believe it was 20-7 in this game, and it was 4th and 10. in Notre Dame territory, not deep.
He had multiple where the first they punted the first time. It was 20-3, I believe, or 20-3.
Yeah.
And they punted, and then he punted again when it was still. He punted twice when it was 20-3.
Yeah, and there was like 8 minutes left, 9 minutes, whatever it was on that second punt, 4th and 10. So
and then Notre Dame went 9 plays, 78 yards, and made it 27-3.
So he goes into the game. We don't just beat top 25 teams. We kick their ass. He loves to give the quote. And I love that about him. They've been a fun story. And then he gets into the actual game, and I saw it against Ohio State, and I saw it again on Friday in a playoff game. He turtles. He has no faith in his team. His team's getting just out-physicaled, which is kind of what I thought would happen to them. He was asked after the game, why did you punt on 4th and 10 almost midway through the fourth quarter?
Down by 3 scores.
Why did you do that?
You guys are down 23, I think, with like 11, 12 minutes to go, 3 scores behind. You decided to punt there. What went through your mind not going
I mean,
for it?
I didn't want to punt, but we were doing nothing on offense. And our defense was fighting. You know, that was the only positive, really, that I could draw is our defense was still fighting because offense was doing nothing. And I didn't want to go 4th and 10. You know, it's like you're just wishing and hoping. You have nothing to base it on that you can convert 4th and 10 at that point, right? And there's still time if you punt to win the game. So that was the reason why. I didn't want to do it, but I felt like it was the best move.
Look, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So you're telling me your offense cannot pick up a 4th and 10, and then you immediately tell me, but if we punt, we still have time to win it.
In a 3-score game in the fourth quarter.
After you just told me you don't trust your offense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. I love that he gives quotes, but man, Nick Saban was kind of right. Like, I didn't teach you to S-talk. He S-talks a lot for somebody that goes and coaches and his team plays like that.
Look, it's great for us in this industry. It's great for fans. I love people that are trash talkers. I don't like them personally, but they're great for the sport at large. Dion is this way as well. You got to love him or hate him. Signetti's got this vibe to him. Like, you feel a certain way about him. Either this is great, Cinderella story, I love this guy, he runs his mouth, or you see stuff like that and you roll your eyes and say, I can't stand this guy, and I hope they get their teeth kicked in. The latter ended up happening. You cannot, though, be this brash, trash-talking, smoke your Signettis, Google me, bitch, I win.
Right.
Punt the ball in plus territory in the fourth quarter down 3 scores. You cannot do it. It was tough enough for me to watch him do this at Ohio State early in the season, or a couple of weeks ago, I should say, late in the season.
He did do that at Ohio State a couple of times. He punted.
He
did.
Like,
what are you doing?
The whole argument there was he's coaching this like a soccer game, and he's looking at score differential, and he knows resumes matter, and I don't want to go for it and give him a short field because now I'm already down by 20, and I don't want to lose by 40. Whatever. I disagree with that philosophy as a head coach. I would always try and win the game. I wouldn't care about that kind of stuff at the end of the year. He chose a different path. That's fine. This is it. Like I'm sitting up on my couch yelling at my television. Does he know that his season's over if they lose? That point differential does not matter anymore? Like, you're down 20-3. There's 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. You got a 4th and 10 in plus territory. Yeah. How are you not going for it?
Fake punt if you need to.
Do anything.
Yeah.
Like, what? Take away his Coach of the Year award, honestly. Like, for beating FIU and UCLA,
give it to Dillingham.
congratulations.
Cool with that.
Give it to anybody else. You don't deserve it anymore after that. That was a ridiculous display of coaching. Not surprised that they got blown out.
No.
Don't let the final score mislead you. They scored 2 touchdowns with 4 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah, talk about a misleading
to
final.
only lose the game by 10, which made it ironic that he punted in that situation. They still ended up scoring 2 late touchdowns. It's like, so your offense found it. Maybe they would have found it on that 4th and 10. That was an embarrassing coaching display to punt there.
I give them a lot of credit because nobody saw Indiana being a playoff team. He came over from Madison, and he brought his guys, and it worked, okay? Their schedule worked out for them, and it worked. So I give them the flowers. I am 100% with you. I'll go look at the preseason Big Ten. Indiana wasn't at the bottom.
They were second to last, I think, picked.
Were they?
I think so.
Oh, I thought they were like 5th or 6th to last, not like at the very bottom.
I thought it was second, but I might be wrong on that.
I'll double check it. Dillingham was literally, I think, picked last in the Big 12.
Yeah.
He was picked worst coach in that conference, and he won it.
He did in his second year. Yeah.
I'm totally with you. The votes have already probably been calculated. All that's been established.
There's also a coach who went undefeated and beat Ohio State and Penn State in his first year in a new conference.
We all thought they'd be good. I mean, come on.
Yeah, sure. I'm just,
Way to live up to the hype.
Guy's not going to punt in plus territory down by 3 scores in the fourth quarter. That much I can tell you.
Certainly right on that point. You cannot be barking that loudly pregame and that's how you coach in the playoff game.
No, that was embarrassing.
We'll get to some other audio. There's a Notre Dame fan that took a shot at legendary Nick Saban, and to no shocking development, the results of the playoff games led to a lot of commentary about the playoff committee and the teams that were put in it. And so we'll get to all that coming up next on The Fan.
The Fan.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Die Hard, a classic Christmas movie. Welcome back in. Christmas Eve here on The Fan.
We haven't done that one yet. I got to think of how many I haven't checked off the list. I always do Christmas Story, Christmas Eve, so I'm saving that one for tomorrow. I think I've gotten almost everything else in other than Die Hard. I might do Die Hard tonight.
I have a couple I haven't watched, like from start to finish. Elf.
I haven't done Elf start to finish yet this year either.
I've seen Elf so many times, though, because it's always on TV.
Constantly.
We went old school over the weekend because it was our wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to the
thank you.
Swag
How many
Guards.
years?
12.
12 years.
Right. Hey, really?
Yeah.
That math isn't mathing in my head.
I think it's been longer than that or shorter than that?
Me and my wife for 12 years.
Yeah. I remember those happening roughly around the same
They
time.
happened at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know why I came to the fan. I thought you were already married.
Well, he was.
Not really. Not,
Not
according to that
anymore.
math.
No. Well, not. He was previously
When
married.
I first started at the fan, I was.
Yes.
Then I
I'm-
wasn't.
Yeah, I was talking about yours. Yeah. Lady swag as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
So we went back and a little black and white, a little Fred Astaire. And a little Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
So we watched Holiday Inn, which is actually the first movie that White Christmas was performed in, not White Christmas.
Yeah, Holiday Inn's a solid go-to.
I wanted to do It's a Wonderful Life, but then the daughter reminded me that we watched that, I think, on Christmas Eve or Day, so she didn't let me watch it.
Okay, that going to be the new tradition, the new Sprague tradition?
I guess I already started it.
Yeah,
I had forgotten it.
Come on, man.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Gotta hold off.
Just like the NFL taking the NBA's
This
day.
is what we do. We're taking over Christmas Day now. Christmas Story, get out of the way. 24 hours. We're doing Wonderful Life.
A Christmas Story is definitely going to get watched.
Yeah.
It's, that's a tradition.
I love Wonderful Life. One of my go-tos. I watch it every holiday season. My only gripe, we need like an editor's version of it. Can we? There's like
Is it a little
20.
too long?
There's 20 to 30
Yeah.
minutes of that movie that we could cut out, and you're
I
not
agree.
losing much of the plot.
Yeah.
That would just make it a little bit tighter and a little bit easier to sit down and watch.
I kind of agree with you, but I only watch it but once a year. And
That is
so
true.
It's like I'm willing to just dive all the way in.
Yeah, it is a very long movie.
Yeah, it
You
is.
got to be able to. You're buckling down for a while.
Well,
there.
the playoff games were an absolute dud this weekend.
They were.
I turned Ohio State, Tennessee off, and I just was like, I'm not missing anything here. I'm not going to be the guy that watches on his couch when this game's clearly over, and I watched a Christmas movie instead.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time. If you're not going to give me a good product, I'm not giving you my time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I turned that game off a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter. I don't know. I was just, sitting scrolling on my phone at that point.
I
So
hate
I'm
to
not-
tell you this, dude. 28-10, I turned it off. I'm
Yeah.
like, they're not coming back. This game's over.
I don't
kept
blame you
an
at
eye
all
on
on that.
it, and it got worse.
The only one that actually gave you a little bit of drama late in the game, ironically, because I didn't see it happening at all with that game, the only one that did was Clemson in Texas.
Clemson fought
that
back.
one. Like Clemson had the ball in the fourth quarter. It was about 10 minutes to go, and there was a goal line stand there, which you pointed out the play calling, which I also disagreed with strongly. But they had an opportunity to score there to make it a one-score game with like 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Right.
They also had a pick six that was overturned in the first half. That was an egregious call against Clemson. So I give Dabo a lot of credit. They put up, I would argue, the best fight of the weekend when you look from a start to finish, not just a final score, because I know Indiana's final score was closer, but the Clemson-Texas game was far closer than Indiana-Notre Dame was throughout.
And Clemson was the only road team that had been in this environment.
Well, I think
how much did the environments play a factor to you guys?
I think it did a ton. Like I'm sure we'll get to all the audio and everybody's yelling at each other again. It's such a toxic place right now in the world of college football, the way we have to debate these things. Like, we weren't here to do the Heisman stuff, but this was the way it was for the Heisman. It's either Hunter's the winner, and if you disagree, you don't know football, or he only had snap counts, and that's the only stat that mattered. Genty should have won. You don't know football. It's like,
so I can't sit in a place where either one wins, and I'm
and
happy,
like,
and
hey,
I'm not
they
mad?
both deserve. They're both great. I don't care. Like, give it to whatever. Like, what are we doing? It's insufferable right now, and that of course happened in the opening weekend of the playoffs. I felt like we missed one of the biggest points, and that was how incredible it was to have home field advantages this weekend.
Yep.
And not turning games on to these corporate dome. Like, I don't want to watch games in Vegas, in New Orleans, in Atlanta, in Dallas. I want to watch games at home fields. This is what makes college football special. So while all the games were basically duds, the atmosphere in Notre Dame on Friday night was insane. Nobody sat down in that place the entire game. For as bad as the Tennessee-Ohio State game was, Ohio State fan didn't even really show up. Tennessee had like 40% of that crowd. So just that whole storyline was fascinating. Penn State had a sellout. Like, home crowds and the environments were incredible. And it's getting lost in all of this debate about blowouts and how many teams should we have. Like, how much tougher it is going to be going forward, where you're not going to play Texas in a run-of-the-mill corporate stadium in Phoenix, Arizona, where sure, they're going to have a crowd advantage, but you're going to have fans there, and it's a climate-controlled building and all that stuff. Like, going on the road is going to be an incredibly challenging thing for these higher-seeded teams to do.
When I have therapy on Tuesdays, one of the things my therapist has helped me work on is finding little gratitudes. Seems to help who I am as a person. And so Saturday, I had this moment. I'm watching, and I put on Penn State SMU, the 9 a.m. kick, and I sat on my couch, and I went, oh, I'm so blessed that my house is 68. And even watching that game, I put a blanket on. I was cold watching those guys play in that game, because even though that's Penn State's environment, even their players look like this is miserable.
It's absolutely freezing.
Aller did not want to play quarterback
couldn't
that
kick
day.
at all in that game.
No, the ball was a rock-hard piece of equipment.
And then the wind was blowing.
The funniest thing about that game was that all the rich, not all of them, but a huge chunk of rich boosters from SMU
I saw this story.
flew their private jets, but then the airport in State College was full because they had so many people flying, so they had to be diverted to Williamsport or somewhere, which is like an hour and a half drive away. Yep. And so they were they got a party bus and then took it, but by the time they got there, the game was already like 21-0, and SMU had thrown 2 pick sixes. It's like, oh, we arrived and game over.
So real quick on the Tennessee-Ohio State thing, because I know a lot of people saw this. Did you hear what happened, Swigard, of why there was much? So there was so much orange in Columbus. I didn't know this till the day of the game, and then a reporter came out and said it. The secret promo code for the Ohio State season ticket holders, it leaked, and Tennessee fans got it, jumped in, and stole the tickets from Buckeye fans. Not to give them off on a hook, but that's why there was more orange in that stadium than people thought there would be. I want to play very quickly because we have audio we got to get to. Shane Gillis is hilarious to me, and him saying what everybody in America has known forever.
This was the highlight of the weekend, honestly.
It was the highlight. I'm going to save that for you, okay? I'll save that for you because there's 2 clips from that. I want to play in the most predictable way ever. We said on Friday, if these games are bad, what's the narrative going to be? And it happened even before Monday. The narrative is going to be more SEC teams need to be in, and these teams need to be out. And predictably, SMU, 2 pick sixes, that game's over. Clemson fights back, but bye-bye, Texas is better.
Yeah.
Indiana, no shows against Notre Dame. And our final game, coincidentally, was an SEC team. We had duds all weekend. Kirk Herbstreit goes on ESPN.
This is Saturday night after the Tennessee-Ohio State game.
After calling Tennessee's ass-kicking that Ohio State gave them, and says this.
That I hope next year the committee won't get caught up in what the social media and a lot of people who are fringe fans get caught up in, which is wins. They had 11 wins. They must be good. Who did they beat? I think is much more important than how many wins you have. That's old school way of approaching it. Indiana having 11 wins and beating nobody, that doesn't mean they're one of the 12 best teams. Remember, I know, Linda, I'm not taking this out on you, but there's a big difference between deserving and best.
Yeah.
What this is all about is giving us the best 12 teams. Now, it's subjective. How you want to figure out the best 12 is up to you. But that's what I want to see. I don't want to hear about wins. How many winning's obviously important, but just because you have 11 wins doesn't mean you're better than a team that maybe had a tougher road that had 9 wins. So I think we get too caught up in how many wins you have. It's really more about who are the best 12 teams, and we need to get the best 12 teams in this tournament every year.
That's after he called an SEC team losing 42-10.
17. They tacked on a touchdown with 7 seconds left.
And by the way, quickly, as a revisit, Indiana was picked preseason second to last, so my apologies. I was wrong on that. Signetti, even better than the expectation. We know what he's alluding to there.
We do. He did it on game day that morning as well.
It's more SEC teams, and Lane Kiffin did this. He tagged the committee, and it was like, oh, good job on this. And I just thought, don't lose at home to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Hey, Bama, calling to Paul Feinbaum today. Don't lose to Vanderbilt or get boathoused by 21 against Oklahoma.
Stick with it. Run with it now. I love it.
We're not doing boat racing.
I mean, this was a double whammy, too, because he said this at the end of the day, which I was fascinated to see that was his takeaway on SportsCenter, because the morning of that game, he was on game day. Remember, the Indiana-Notre Dame game was on Friday.
Yes.
He was on game day, and he went on this long rant on game day before any of the other games kicked off. and said Indiana shouldn't have been in. They were fraudulent. They beat nobody. Why are they in the playoff? Who cares about whether? He went on this entire tirade, basically that saying that more SEC teams should be in. He then was on the call to watch Tennessee, an SEC team, go on the road to where did Ohio State finish, by the way, in the Big Ten? 4th. That's the 4th place Big Ten team, technically, according to conference standings. They went on the road and they got their teeth kicked in. And your takeaway was still after that game that more SEC teams belong in. It would have been one thing if Indiana got killed, you run your mouth Saturday morning, and then Tennessee goes on the road and beats Ohio State to try and say after that game, see, this is the best conference, blah, 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 blah. Your entire argument goes out the window the second Tennessee gets blown out. Ohio State did. They beat Tennessee by a wider margin than they did Indiana like 3 weeks ago when that game happened at the end of the regular season. This is laughable stuff from that entire conference. They deserve the benefit of the doubt largely because they are the best conference in the country. That stuff goes out the window when you get killed by 6-6 Oklahoma, or you can't beat Kentucky, who had one Power 4 win all season. Yeah. You have nobody to blame but yourself. And all the trash talking that happened from everybody in the SEC bubble disappeared on Saturday night. They ran their mouths all day, all weekend. Lane Kiffin, Paul Feinbaum, every single one of them, all weekend. This is why, this is why, this is why. And then Tennessee gets their S kicked in, and it's just quiet. The church mouse is out there. Where the hell are you Saturday night when they're losing 42-10 in the fourth quarter? An embarrassing performance.
We'll get to Shane Gillis burning Nick Saban on game day and then kind of doing a apology but no apology, and then Saban clearly taking it the wrong way because, of course, getting called out for what it was, and God forbid that happen. My final point on this, and we'll get to the fun audio stuff, I love the opinion that trickles in from guys like him when it goes, maybe the committee should stop listening to social media. As if like social media's in the room. Where did social media touch you?
Where are the trends?
Show it on your body. Like, excuse me? You think the committee's just going on Twitter and go, what do we pick here? What's Twitter saying? I don't know.
Indiana's trending. We got to bump them out of the top 12.
I'm sure that's where Mike Riley's going to get his analysis.
Well, look, a dumb take.
It's so frustrating because it's a ridiculous conversation to even have.
It really is.
This would have been had Alabama not lost to 6-6 Oklahoma and been 10-2. This would have been a legitimate debate of like, all right, tougher schedule. They have one more loss. What do you weigh more? Like, if Ole Miss didn't lose to Florida, this would have been a legitimate debate. Yeah. But it was settled on the field. They lost those games.
Yes.
You're not putting a 9-3 team in over an 11-1 team. Who, by the way, who did Tennessee beat this year? Oh, that's right, Alabama. So the team that beat Alabama lost 42-17 on the road to Ohio State, and they belong in the playoff?
I've also seen that Alabama team look like that Tennessee team did. And if you would have told me they also lose at Ohio State 42-17, I wouldn't have batted an eye at that take.
Or go on the road to Notre Dame and get shut down by that defense. I wouldn't have been surprised.
It's all really stupid. And look, here's the reality of a 12-team playoff, and it's going to be this way if you get to 16. You're just going to have a lot of those games. That's just what it is, man.
Especially with home field advantages now.
I think these next games are going to be better. I think these next games, and we'll get to Oregon is an underdog and now like the third worst odds to win the title. We'll get to that today. I find some of the takeaway, it was predictable, and it happened immediately with Indiana, Notre Dame, and it kept going throughout the weekend. We got a lot more to get into. We're over the clock. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but for Swag with Sports Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Seahawks' faint playoff hopes are all the way down to just a flicker. They fall at home to the Vikings 27-24. The NFC West Division title is their only way to the postseason. They need to win the last two games, which would include a victory over the Rams, and then hope their strength of victory record is good enough to win the tiebreaker. Monday Night Football is in Green Bay on the frozen tundra. Saints and Packers. The Pack trying to keep pace with the Lions and Vikings in the NFC North. They lock up a playoff spot with a victory. They're 14-point favorites. Blazers, final game before the holiday break, is in Dallas. They get the Mavericks for a 5:30 tip on KATU Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. Dallas, a 10-point favorite. Oregon State, Beavers in Hawaii for the Diamond Head Classic. They beat Charleston in their quarterfinal game Sunday, 74-65. Today at 5 o'clock, they'll face Oakland in the semifinals on ESPN2. Beavs are 10.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription.
free.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
The glue.
We're out of glue.
You use up all the glue on purpose.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan. In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents The Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Celebrate the season with a Northwest tradition, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
You better watch out because Bad Santa's coming to town. Today's Daily Ticker brought to you by Pelican Brewing, celebrating the season with Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. No better beer for this time of year. It's honestly my favorite beer that they make, and so go buy a six-pack before your Christmas Eve or your Christmas dinner. It's going to be a lot of us on the Daily Ticker. It's not easy to find a guest on December 23rd.
I have a guest.
Oh, who's our guest?
Just for the segment.
Just
the
for the
guest
segment?
today is Jason Swigard's wiener.
Michael Malone. Hello.
Michael McDonald. You go, Nuggets coach? What are you doing there?
What are we doing, man? I got a couple of lingering takeaways from the weekend that I would like to bring up because
Absolutely.
The conversation is mind-numbing to me at this point.
You saw that coming, though, right?
Oh, we all knew. We said it on
Knew it was
Friday.
gonna be
Like
done.
we knew exactly where this is going to go. One takeaway that I had, or two final takeaways, and then we'll get to the Shane Gillis audio, maybe in the next segment. I think in this era where you're going to start asking teams to go on the road early in the playoffs, there's one thing that I think we all need to circle if you want any chance of an upset or a higher-seeded team to go, pull something off. And that is you have to have elite quarterback play.
Right.
Like if you're going to go on the road and try and win a game, if you can't do it at the most important position on the field, you stand no chance. And to me, that was the story of the weekend. At Indiana, you had Curtis Rourke not be able to move and with just a statue back there, overwhelmed at the line of scrimmage. Indiana had no answer. In the SMU game, Kevin Jennings could not stop throwing interceptions,
Man.
2 of them pick sixes.
That second one, Dirt, what was he doing?
I don't know. Like, that game had a chance to be they had an opening drive where they're all the way down there. He drops a ball in the end zone.
No, but why didn't he run for the first down? He was
I don't
at
know.
the marker.
I don't know. And then you drop the pass on the back end of it, and then you throw 2 pick sixes. It's like, dude, Penn State didn't do hardly anything offensively in the first half of that game.
Aller was terrible.
But they were up 28-0 because SMU kept throwing pick sixes. And probably the thing that I should have seen coming in the Tennessee-Ohio State game that you did on Friday, and that was Nico just look, he's a young kid. He's going to be fine.
Yep.
Long term, like he made a couple of nice plays with his legs. He was 14 of 31 for 104 yards.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
Well, and then Sampson got hurt.
Yeah, and then Sampson got hurt on top of it. That was entire offense. The only guy that had a good game, and I'm going to give him credit because we've been critical at times of him, dude, Kate Klubnik, I thought, balled out in that. He kept them alive, kept them around, and that's why that was the most competitive game. I just think it was a glimpse of, like, you're not only is it harder to pull off these upsets, you're having to go on the road now to do it. If you don't have somebody at that position that can handle the elements, that can handle the environment,
right,
you got no chance at all to do it.
Well, no doubt, but here's the other question. Even if you call out the quarterback play, the difficult thing with that sport versus what we talked about in the NFL, who is good at that position in that sport, right? Like right now, if you think Arizona State beats Texas, that's more of a bet on the running back than the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're betting Boise to upset Penn
It's John
State,
Genty.
that's
It's not,
Ashton
yeah.
Genty.
Not
Not that those
Maddox
quarterbacks are bad or have been bad. It's more just, I don't know, man. Like when I looked at those games, and we talked about this last week, it wasn't, Jennings isn't capable. We saw in the second half against Clemson, he was capable. It was more, the team in Dallas has to go to 10 degrees.
Yeah, they look like the Cool Runnings team walking out of the airport. Like, I want to go home.
They did. And then, like, Tennessee, I don't think they just lost that game because it was cold. I don't think the cold weather helped. And so, like, I think weather, climate, and then also matchups. Indiana could not hang with Ohio State. We saw that. I watched Notre Dame. I watched Notre Dame beat Texas A&M, go toe-to-toe, have a physical season. I wasn't shocked that they out-physicaled Indiana. We kind of had a feeling that's who Indiana was. It wasn't that they weren't deserving. It was just they don't have quite those horses yet.
Yeah, it's a fun season. They can't do it at the line of scrimmage.
I'm worried that that's going to be Boise State, Penn State, especially since that's in the Cardinals Stadium at the Fiesta Bowl. That worries me a little bit, that we're going to see the Big Ten title game Penn State team and not the 20-degree Penn State team.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. Maybe Boise has something to say. But yeah, I think largely there wasn't alternatives for me. And that's what's dumb about this is this season has been really fun because of the unpredictability and the nature of the sport. And we're sitting here and we got coaches bitching and moaning they're not in it when they lost games that they shouldn't have lost.
Lost a quarter of your games.
Don't lose games.
Yeah.
Don't lose. Dan Lanning continues to say, don't lose your games. Win the games. They got nothing to do, right? So I think all of it just predictably got stupid. And then when the SEC team loses by that much,
It all stops.
But it's going to start back up today. You don't think Feinbaum's going to be on and be like, now I know what we're going to say about Tennessee, but Bama's not going to do what Indiana did.
No.
Ole Miss ain't going to do what, SMU did.
Right.
It's just going to be stupid today.
Yeah, wait till New Year's Eve if Penn State puts it on Boise State. Or no, I think that's Penn State Boise's New Year's Eve. Wait, if Penn State puts it on them, it's going to pick right back up, right where we left off. Say this is why, blah, blah, blah. The other thing that I will point out, and then we'll get to the Shane Gillis audio coming up next, but I think the thing that will change, and it's ironic that my team is probably most impacted by this, Georgia as well to a certain degree, the seeding of this whole thing is whacked, and it's going to cause some serious issues.
That's the change I would make.
It desperately needs to be made. Like Oregon and Ohio State, you can make a serious argument that that's a national championship in my mind. If Ohio State's going to look like that, and Oregon, what they've shown all year, like I got questions about Notre Dame. I got questions about Georgia and their quarterback. Texas was not, overpowering against Clemson. Like every other team has a bit of an issue. Penn State lost to both Ohio State and Oregon this year. You can make an argument that's a national title. It's happening in the quarterfinals. That is laughable.
Right.
What I think would have also helped is that if you would have had correct seedings, now you probably still end up with blowouts. We had blowouts in the 14 playoff era. But your first round matchups, had you not done the automatic bye to conference champions, would have been Notre Dame hosting Clemson, which I think is a competitive game.
Probably better than Indiana.
Probably better than Indiana, based on what we saw from Clemson this weekend. They can handle it at least at the line of scrimmage a little bit better than them. Ohio State hosting Arizona State, where I think Ohio State puts it on them, but hey, you got Scatteraboo, see if he runs wild. SMU going on the road to Tennessee, which based on what I saw from both of them would have been a competitive game this weekend.
Yeah, probably.
And Indiana hosting Boise State.
Which is probably
a competitive game, right?
Yeah.
So, you would have had at least a chance for 2 in there, maybe 3, where this format just kind of set up for not only bad matchups in the quarterfinals, where your conference champs in Georgia now has to play Notre Dame, Oregon has to play Ohio State. We've talked about that at length for weeks now, that this is what's going to happen. But I think you get better first-round matchups out of it, and that's an easy fix that they're likely going to make this offseason.
The other thing, I don't know that they're going to tweak anything in this. It probably has to go to a 16-team thing. My other kind of takeaway from the weekend, aside from the games being bad, which is obvious, I just continue to feel a little like it's unfair for these top 4 seeds. These teams that get buys. Not that they haven't earned them. It's just that, hey, congratulations, you've earned not playing this weekend after you played last weekend and the other teams didn't.
Yeah.
And your reward is you get to travel and your first game is on the road. And I know it's the Rose Bowl. A lot of Duck fans will be there. It's an environment they're familiar with as a program. But it's like I got to watch Penn State get a home game.
Yeah,
I got to
game
watch
should
Texas.
be at Autzen this weekend.
Yeah,
next week.
I think they should. They won't because of the corporate and all the money and all that crap. That's the element of the sport that was the only positive, was that we saw home playoff games, which was
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
But the games themselves sucked. I feel like the top 4, they deserve a home game. Let them have some gate money. Let them host a game at Autzen Stadium. And I know Ohio State, Oregon are rematching, and so maybe there's not as much excitement. But in a scenario where you reseed correctly and you give the top 4 teams a home game, I think that would be also something I would love to see. I just doubt that's ever coming because of all of the money they make at these travel road sites.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. It would be awesome to have all these games. Imagine Penn State having to go on the road to Boise State.
Oh, that would be
blue turf
Drew
on New
Aller
Year's
on the
Eve.
blue turf in 10 degrees.
Oh, my God, it'd be incredible. You better watch out. Bad Santa's coming to town. Today's Daily Ticker brought to you by Pelican Brewing, celebrating the season with Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. We will get to. We'll start diving in a little bit. This is our only show of the week, so we'll do a little peekaboo with Oregon, Ohio State, and some of the other quarterfinal matchups coming up in the final hour of the show. I'm sure we'll play some grab ass because, again, last show of the week. I do want to get into arguably the highlight of the college football weekend, and it came from a surprising place. We'll get to that next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainhomeservices.com.
Look, it's not good enough. So, again, that's my responsibility. And you do everything you can do each week. Obviously not good enough. So, of course, after every game, it hurts.
There's Giants coach Brian Daboll. They get smoked by the Falcons. Predictable. They've been bad. They've lost 10 straight games. They're in line to try to get the top draft pick.
I love this. We're not going to get to NFL factoids because we don't have a show tomorrow. Yeah. Wins since October 7th. The Yankees have 7. The Mets have 4. The Jets have 2. The Giants have none.
Yikes. Shedeur Sanders, you're a Giant. Who's stinking it up? Brian Daboll and the New York Giants. Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule appointment online, Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainhomeservices.com.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Come on, Marv, get up. You don't have any more bricks. He's at him. What? What? That did it! Nobody throws bricks at me and gets away with it. Come on, Marv, get up. You go this way, I'm going around the back.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
Home Alone. Always a classic.
That brick scene might be one of the best acted physical comedy scenes.
Daniel Stern.
I mean, just bricks to the face after bricks to the face.
Yelling.
The first
the
one hits
noises.
him. Mom, how many fingers am I holding up? 8.
8? Looks like 8.
He's been in my algorithms a lot, Daniel Stern.
Has he starting to pop up?
Because I watch a lot of those two. I love the second one. Actually, I think I like the second one more than the first.
Well, it's a bit of a hot take.
It probably is.
Bit of a hot take for people.
But he negotiated a thing in his contract with those movies that basically nets him a crap ton of royalties. And so he just lives on a farm, and he lives a farm life.
Having a good life.
Having a great life. And he doesn't even need to act anymore because he just gets a ton of money every year.
My favorite Daniel Stern story is one that connects to me, and that is that for his daughter went to Reed College.
Oh.
Yeah, right here in our backyard.
How about that?
And when she was at Reed College, he was working, I think, on some this is probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a long time ago. And he stayed. I had an aunt and uncle that used to live in Eastmoreland, and they would go down to Phoenix in the wintertime. They were snowbirds.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And so he's rented out their house because they lived in Eastmoreland, which is right by Reed College.
Oh, that's cool.
And he rented their house for like 2 months. And I always was tempted to go knock because I knew he was staying there. Like, I really want to go meet him. But then I thought that might be a little.
Why did you do that?
Because that's a little uncomfortable. And they weren't supposed to tell people that Daniel Stern is staying in our house. So it's kind of like a family, go randomly knock on the door and be like, oh, look at that. Daniel Stern's here. This is cool. But he stayed at their house for like 2 months. This was the highlight of the weekend. I don't even know if it's close. So this all started, Game Day did 2 different shows this week, and they did one in South Bend on Friday for the Indiana-Notre Dame game, and then they were in Columbus on Saturday. Well, when they were in South Bend, obviously Notre Dame theme, they had comedian Shane Gillis on, who's one of my favorite comedians. I really enjoy his stuff, and he was he's a big Notre Dame guy. He's wearing all of his Notre Dame gear. He's all excited. This, I believe, was during the kicking contest is where this started.
Yes.
So they do the kicking for $200,000 or whatever for McAfee. And this is where it began. So here's the first part of it.
I don't know. This is, it's always with Notre Dame. It's like, here's the big game. Let's hopefully win it. This feels different. Feels like we can win it. You know? Okay. There's some parity now that, now that everybody can pay their players. Notre Dame has a shot. It's not just the SEC. It's not Coach Saban.
So he takes a shot at Saban during the kicking contest. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is earlier in the show, and then he was there as their celebrity guest picker.
Yeah.
So later on in the show, they bring him onto the dais, and he gives his picks as they're going through the weekend.
So very quickly, I missed this live, okay? You're going to have to help me. If you watched it, did this just Pat McAfee organically bring up the fact that he called him a cheater?
Yes.
It wasn't. So my only takeaway is Saban must have been fuming behind the scenes when he heard that.
I guarantee he was.
And made McAfee go out and be like, you better make him apologize.
Yeah, he basically was like, well, so you'll hear it, but it was brought up organically by McAfee as they're kind of going through and starting to pick their games for the weekend and for that Friday. And here is what Shane Gillis, here's what his apology was to Nick Saban.
You called him a cheater earlier. I was just joking around. I don't think the SEC paid players ever. Period. I'm joking. Are we not? Is this not a fun show? No. Serious show? Serious football. Alabama Jones is very serious. I'm not serious. Get the whip, Indy.
I do believe in integrity. I always
tried
to run the program that way so players had a better chance to be successful in life.
I agree.
We make more money in the NFL than any other school, 61 players in the league. That was how we cheated. We developed players. We recruited.
I'm so sorry.
Let's all laugh to make sure the energy doesn't shift to Nick Saban almost just admitting they're like, we got guys in the NFL who made money.
That's how we do it. Alabama never paid a player. Of course, they never paid a player.
Unbelievable, dude. Look, Nick Saban is the GOAT. I will not take that crown away from him. I would debate the Belichick stuff, but that's a different argument for a different day. It is unreal that he has the gall to suggest that school and other schools in that conference weren't doing this for decades.
Forever.
And having the ability to not care when other schools around America were like, oh, I don't know, man, I don't know if we can risk this. I'll never forget Fred Taylor saying that he got a bag of 50 G's from Georgia just on a whim that he might flip from Florida to be a Bulldog and that he never had to give the cash back. That was just to say, please reconsider. He never was going to, and then he just kept it, and they moved on.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that you didn't do or your program didn't? Come on, man. Gillis saying that's hilarious because it's true.
Yes, it's true of the sport right now. That's why it seems like there's more parity, is that everybody can pay their players.
Yes,
it's
portal
legal.
and players are hopping around, but like the fact that he had to apologize tells you how truly pissed off Saban was by that.
So for the people who don't get the Alabama Jones comment about it, he was wearing a hat that looked like Indiana Jones. And so he called him Alabama Jones on the day. I said, give me the whip, Indy. Seeing somebody make fun of Saban like that to his face was absolutely hilarious and definitely the highlight of the weekend because all the games were dead, so that was kind of the best thing we had to go for.
You think Saban's searching out Shane Gillis stand-up anymore?
I think he's going to find something to criticize him next time he sees him. Send him, that joke didn't really land. He didn't execute that one very well. So it was a fun weekend on game day. The games, not so fun. Let's start getting into some of the quarterfinal games. Let's start the final hour there. Oregon, Ohio State, round 2. How should the Ducks feel going into that one? More likely upset, and can Notre Dame pull it off against Georgia? We'll start diving in to some of the quarterfinals as we start the final hour next on 1080 The Fan.
Roll it out into the river. Not the river.
An Odyssey Sports Station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, very little, if any, drama in round 1 of the college football playoffs, with all the higher-seeded home teams advancing to the quarterfinals with convincing wins. That included Ohio State, who thumped Tennessee to set up a rematch against top-ranked Oregon New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. Right here on The Fan, Buckeyes are 2.5-point favorites. Seahawks playoff hopes are down to a faint flicker. They lose to the Vikings at home 27-24. Their only path to the postseason is winning the NFC West. They need to win their last 2 games, which includes a victory over the Rams, and then hope their strength of victory is good enough to win a tiebreaker. Monday Night Football in Green Bay. The Packers hosting the Saints as 14-point favorites, trying to keep up with the Lions and Vikings in the NFC North. Kickoff at 5:15 on ESPN and KATU Channel 2. Blazers' final game before the holiday is in Dallas. They'll take on the Mavericks at 5:30 on KATU Channel 2.2 and Xfinity Channel 302. The Mavs are 10-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Dirt and Sprague.
It's a 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, good.
Clark, it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
That it is, Edward. That it is indeed.
Andy Dirt Johnson.
Well, I don't know, Scott. You're as healthy as a horse. Yeah. Clydesdale. Okay, look, so what? You put on a little weight. A little weight? Does this look like a little weight to you?
And Brendan Sprague.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
I think that says fragile, right?
Oh, yeah.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Kiss my ass. Kiss his ass. Kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app. Live on YouTube.
Kiss your ass.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody. We got a nice little beef brewing on ESPN this morning.
Oh, God.
For those who didn't see, at the end of the Tennessee, everybody had probably turned the game off at this point because it was over in a blowout.
They have mandates to do this to get people to care about their programming.
I think they do. Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler started taking shots at everybody on the first take desk because they said Ryan Day should be on the hot seat if they don't win, blah, 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 fire him, all that stuff. That it was a pretty rational thing because he lost to Michigan again.
You mean what most of America was wondering going into the game?
And I think at the end of the broadcast, Fowler and Herbstreit were basically like, I wonder who first take's going to fire now that Ryan Day won. Huh? Who are we going to fire now? And Shannon Sharp basically went on first take this morning and was like, keep my name out your mouth.
Wow.
If you attack me one more time, I'm coming after you, but I'll take the high road for now. So things are going great over at the Worldwide Leader this morning.
We should do that more on the station. Be like, oh, yeah, Danny Dusty, keep our names out your mouth.
Mention me one more time, Dusty. You have to deal with this, all right? I'm going to scissor kick you.
I wonder who Isaac's going to fire tomorrow. What a stupid beef.
Oh, lovely time in the world of college football. Quarterfinals are around the corner. This will be our only show of the week. So we'll have some more time to dive into these coming up, obviously, next Monday, Tuesday. And then the Penn State-Boise State game will be next Tuesday, and then everybody will be playing on the 1st.
Do you like the standalone games?
I do. I'm okay with it.
I didn't like the Friday game.
The Friday night game?
It kind of got in my way.
Well, you got stuff to do. I get that. I'm a procrastinator as well. So this time of year, I'm like, damn it, I got, X, Y, and Z I need to finish and all this football that I got to fit into my window. New Year's Eve, though, I like because it's a 4:30 game on New Year's Eve. So it's not a night. It's not too late for us. It's like, that's perfect timing. So if you want to do something for New Year's, which I most certainly will not be doing, it's over by 7:30. And so that makes it manageable on the West Coast. More likely upset, I put this poll question up last night. Boise State over Penn State or Arizona State over Texas?
I think it's Arizona State over Texas.
Arizona State.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's no disrespect to Boise State. They'll get their chance to prove me wrong.
How much of that has to do with faith in Arizona State and how much of that has to do with a lack of faith in either Texas or confidence in Penn State?
I think it's a combo of Arizona State is a little more talented than most of America thought, and I also think they're really well coached.
Yeah.
They're disciplined, they're creative, they're ballsy, and they're tough. They're like physically tough. It's one thing to beat Iowa State. I think what we can all agree, Iowa State is well coached. Matt Campbell's really highly regarded. That's not a soft Iowa State team. And I watched that game and I'm like, damn, they just beat them up after that early score. So it's a combo. It's a combo of there is a thing with Texas, and we saw it a little bit this weekend against Clemson. They just had more talent. When they get a little 3-and-out-ish, a little dicey, you kind of feel whatever is that Ewers, Arch Manning, Sarkisian combination. You kind of feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really quantify it other than to say that.
Just feels a little uncomfortable, a little uneasy.
Yes, and there may be a door opening, like a little back door open there for Arizona State to kind of sneak in the way Clemson did. It's not going to be in Austin. And I think Arizona State fan is going to travel well for this thing. They have been very supported this year by that alumni and fan base. So I think it's more that. The Penn State, Boise State stuff, I would love to be wrong. I'm rooting like hell for Boise and Genty, future Pac-12 team. I just think eventually in a controlled dome environment, that Penn State team their horses are going to be too many No pun intended for those horses.
Yeah, that is the game, by the way, on New Year's Eve. Do you agree, Swags? You're going to Arizona State as well?
I think Arizona State, especially if they get their lead wide receiver healthy.
He's had a month now. I don't know exactly where he's at.
I don't know how severe the injury was. Yeah. It didn't seem like it was.
He was in a sling in the Big 12 title game. Jordan Tyson, by the way, is who we're talking about. He had 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
But if they have him, I feel like they can be a little bit more diverse going up against Texas. You can't just, obviously for Penn State, it's like, okay, we got to stop Genty. If we stop Genty, then we can feel like we can handle the rest of whatever they might throw at us.
Yeah.
And it's one-dimensional. I think Arizona State has more of a puncher's chance. I also think Dillingham's more willing to go for the kitchen sinks, the stuff that I thought Cignetti would learn from his first game. You can't. Their first play, what do? They try to run it up the middle. I'm like, did you learn it was over right then. I was like, oh, my God, I was such an idiot on the show, thinking you would learn something.
Yeah. I can't blame you for wanting. You were hoping
he should have. You were right that should have happened. He just, for whatever reason, did not learn the lesson.
It's freezing ass cold. They're massive, and your first play is to, fullback dive up the middle. You're not running it up the middle on them.
They got a break, too, because Notre Dame threw a pick on their first play of the game on a tip ball. And you're like, oh, here comes Indiana. And then they threw it right back to him 2 plays later.
It was so amazing. Had Rourke not thrown that interception, had they scored, even if it was a field goal.
7-0 in that moment.
Had SMU taken advantage, and they got an early lead, and the crowds had a sense to just, oh, okay, these are the playoffs. How different possibly those games could have gone. So, so I think that has to be factored into before we go reshaping the entire playoff format. I don't think they need to go extreme as what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would understand why you'd reseed because of the reaction, but also I don't want to overreact and act like next year can't be different.
Reseeding to me isn't necessary if you fix the top 4 bye thing.
Well, I'm saying if you were to tell me we're not going to change, we're going to keep the format exactly as is, I understand the blowback to that, given what we saw. I also wouldn't be upset if they didn't change it. Just in this, we did dream scenario stuff. I want the top 4 teams to host a playoff game. They won't probably ever have that. And we want to kind of seed it to what the rankings are instead of conference champion, you get a bye, right? If you did this next year, I wouldn't be mad because you cannot overreact to the point of we need to change everything because we had 4 bad games this weekend. What if next year we had 3 of the 4 are good?
It very well could be.
And it could be
blowouts again. Who knows? We've had years in the 14 playoff where there were blowouts, and some years it was close.
Yeah, the more I noodled with it, I think, okay, your top 4 ranked conference champions get in. So if they're outside of the top 12, they get in. Clemson gets in, whatever. They get in. Then seed them 1 through 12. And I could live with the one caveat, if you are a conference champion, but you are playing a first-round game, you get it at home. There's got to be some reward for winning the conference championship, even if you're the worst seed.
So you felt that way about Clemson this year. Clemson wasn't even ranked in the top 12, that they would have deserved to host a home playoff game with 3 losses?
There has to be some incentive overall for keeping the conference championship game.
See, and to me, I think that's there. I agree with the overall sentiment, but I don't think we need to overhaul the entire thing. To me, just the easy fix is you're into the playoff, and then you're just seated where you're seated. So if you win Clemson was not ranked in the top 12. I think they were the 15th ranked team or whatever at the end of the year.
The NBA did that for a while. Was if you won your division, even if you were the lower seed, you got to host
the first playoff game or whatever. Yeah,
court advantage in the first round of the playoff.
The only thing that will stick in my bonnet, if you will, because it's affecting my team, is that what we argued for months has happened. That Penn State has an easier path to the semifinal than Oregon does, and that's laughable. Mm-hmm. They got to play SMU at home. Oregon would have trounced SMU playing at Autzen Stadium this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get Boise State in a neutral environment where you should win. I mean, you're a 10.5-point favorite in that game. You're not guaranteed to win. I mean, you can't lose.
Yep.
You're a 10.5. Oregon is an underdog in their first playoff game this year after going 13-0, and you might have to play the best team in the country. That's a ridiculous system that needs to get – that part of it gets redrawn. Nothing else needs to be changed in my mind.
And I'm with you that we need to have more home games. I don't know how long the contracts are that they would have to undo with the New Year's 6 bowl games. Because that's part of it, is they're under contract. To get out of them probably costs hundreds of millions of dollars.
I'm sure it does.
It's not just, here's $10 million, go away. I think there's huge money on the line that gets everybody's attention.
I just think it's an odd thing. It's an odd visual, I think, as a sports fan. And
if everybody's moving to an NFL model, then let's move to an NFL model.
That's kind of how I feel about it. And I understand that these bowl games, the pageantry, like you've, as a sport, kind of already killed bowl games, to be honest with you. I haven't watched a second other than like a highlight I saw on social media. I hate to disappoint people. I don't watch UNLV Cal. I don't care.
What the hell is the matter with you?
Right. And there's
actually a bowl game that's starting right now.
There is. Yeah, there's two of them.
I know the
today.
Cougs and Syracuse are playing because I saw a commercial. I'm not going to watch that game. I hate to tell you that. Don't care. It's not relevant in my life in any way. You've already killed it. So, like, I am not beholden to old people that wear jackets saying we matter a lot in that sport. They don't anymore. And so, like, I think of Oregon fan. I think of Arizona State fan. I think of Boise State. You got rewarded and you also didn't get rewarded. And it sucks to not be able to have a home venue for those teams. And that's the unfortunate part of all this. I wanted to ask you, before I lost the thought, Notre Dame beating Indiana and beating them maybe that way didn't shock me. I don't think it surprised you. It caught him a little off guard, but that's because of Signetti.
That was Indiana, not Notre Dame.
Yes.
I knew what Notre Dame was going to do.
I'm now
Run the ball and play
wondering
defense,
how much I undervalue, I guess, the physical nature of Notre Dame, because now they've got a game against Georgia where I'm leaning smart in defense over the quarterback question marks of Georgia. But it's like a 1.5 point spread.
It's Georgia's favored by 1.5.
And if Notre Dame gets through that game, you start to kind of wonder aloud, like, oh my God, if you beat Georgia and
Could
you
they win a
suffer
national title?
Yes.
Yeah.
That path is there.
It definitely is there. I think a big question will be, what does Georgia look like offensively with Gunnar Stockton in? I also, the hard thing for me in the opening weekend, I was excited to watch all the games. They ended up being duds. I have a hard time analyzing some of them because, like, I'm not going to Kirk Herbstreit. Indiana belonged in the college football playoff. Indiana was not one of the 12 best teams in the country. They just weren't.
We kind of knew it, but they did. They went through their resume and
yes,
they did
they
what
belonged
needed
in.
to
They
do.
deserved to be in. They went 11-1. I have no issue with them making it, but there is a difference in saying that's truly one of the 12 best teams. If they had Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State on their regular season schedule, they're a 9-3 team and they're not sniffing a playoff because they just got overwhelmed at the line of scrimmage in all of those games. And so that's the hard part that I have with Notre Dame. As good as an impressive and dominant as they looked outside of the final 4 minutes where they gave up an onside kick and a couple of tutties, that is such a jump from going Indiana line of scrimmage to Georgia line of scrimmage. Like that is such a massive jump in terms of talent, depth, and overall size and strength.
That's why I'm taking Georgia. But
that it's I'm not saying it's impossible for them.
No.
I cannot wait to watch that game. It should be a ton of fun. It's on after Ohio State, Oregon on New Year's Day. But I think you're set up for two awesome games in the quarterfinal. And then a hope and a prayer, like give me one other one. Give me Arizona State, Texas being close, or give me Boise State, Penn State being close, and I'm thrilled with that weekend.
The whole format, if Boise State or Arizona State could pull it off, then
it shuts a lot of. I mean, that would be nice in a brief moment to shut some people up.
All the rhetoric and nonsense then tamps down.
I think we're going to get 3 out of the. I hope to be wrong about one of those. I really do. I think we're going to get 3 of the 4 really good games.
Yeah,
I do. I really think Texas is vulnerable. I think Arizona State, we look at them as if they're just one player, and he is an amazing player, by the way.
Yeah.
They're tough. They're well coached. That matters in these moments.
They're resilient. They've had some big comebacks when it looks like they were put away.
Yep.
Dillingham will go into the bag.
Yes, he will.
To come up with stuff offensively.
I think the other thing about those two teams, too, that you couldn't really say, like, Indiana was a fun story this year. Who's Indiana's best player?
Yeah, I don't know,
It's hard to answer. Like, it's like, who's SMU's best player? Who do they lean on, right? Like that's the hard.
Jennings,
Jennings. It should have been, but he was terrible.
Jennings, yeah.
That's the at least interesting part to me about these games is that like Boise State has the best running back in the country.
Yes,
Cam Scatterbo can like single-handedly carry a defense for 15 yards at any given moment, and so they got guys that are like, all right, you can rely on that guy for a bit, and then maybe the rest of the team kind of wakes up and make plays around him. Where I didn't really ever feel like Indiana or SMU or some of those teams had, like Tennessee had their guy, it was Sampson, and then he went out early in the game, and you're like, all right, well there goes your offense.
The best player,
Boise State and Arizona State have it.
100% right there. And the other takeaway too is from those games, despite how bad they were, and I know you want to do a peekaboo here in Oregon, but like. What's the one player takeaway from all of those games, right? Well, it's probably love for Notre Dame. My God, that
Absolute
98-yard run was
I didn't know he was
unreal.
that fast. I knew he was powerful and
He
strong.
had a run
I didn't
against
know he was
USC that opened
fast.
my eyes, and I'm like, that dude is going to wreck some teams the rest of the way. And
Another guy who could and probably should go to the NFL early, but he's only a sophomore, so he's got to stick around another year.
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, holy crap, man. He's the best player on their team.
He's a man. He's a man.
He's 19 years old.
He's 19. He's a man.
Gino's cousin.
Yeah, what are we going to do with that guy on New Year's Day? Let's get into that a little bit coming up next, because we got Oregon and Ohio State. That matchup is set.
Leaning, man. I got to tell you where I'm leaning today.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
No, they are not.
Where's the line? We'll let you know. I got some odds and ends coming up bottom of the hour, including baseball losing a legend over the weekend. So we'll get to that stuff. A quick peekaboo, though, next on Oregon, Ohio State on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
We go into a game with a plan. If that were to happen, we go into a game with a plan. If both guys were to go down and Tanner were to be in, that's just something you go through on your weekly process. So.
Nick Sirianni after the game. The Eagles lost yesterday despite having 5 turnovers from the Commanders because their quarterbacks got hurt. First hurt was Hurts and then Pickett at the end of the game.
I mean, just a nightmare scenario to not only blow that game with 5 turnovers created, but you blow that lead late, and now Hurts has a concussion. You never know what's going to happen with that, and they couldn't win with Pickett, but then he gets hurt too. Tough situation right now on Philly brewing.
We'll see how long those guys are out. Looks like the 1 seed probably not happening for Philly. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Bradford Black, visit rocpdx.com.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a hero. This is Dirt and Sprague.
Jamie!
Chris, how are you feeling?
So much better. Listen, I know it's Christmas Eve, but do you have any plans tonight? The Revival Theater in town is showing Nicholas Sparks' The Notebook. Hello? I'm on the phone.
Really? You want to see the Notebook?
Yes, because I love sentimental tearjerkers. I'm gonna friggin' puke. Just to see.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080, The Fan.
Just Friends, all-time classic.
Underrated Christmas movie, by the way.
All-time classic.
Underrated.
Definitely underrated Christmas movie. Well,
Jamie.
He puts his old retainer in. Sitting around Saturday night, I'm like, hey, I wonder who Oregon's going to play. And then like 45 seconds into the game, I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be Ohio State. That didn't take long to figure that one out. They had the opening drive where they had got a sack on third down. You're like, uh-oh. And then there was a face mask, and then Ohio State went on to score a touchdown. You're like, all right, that didn't last very long.
They're throwing face mask penalties again.
Yes, they are.
For a couple weeks,
now
they got
we're
back
back
on it.
They now count again as a 15-yard penalty.
Darnold got one against the Seahawks.
He did. We missed a few of those a few weeks back. Oregon and Ohio State, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
New Year's Day.
I'm excited for this.
Week from Wednesday. What's our early look? By the way, for those wondering, Oregon they opened as a 1.5 underdog to Ohio State. It has already been bet up to 2.5. So it's almost to a field goal now. A lot of money coming in on the Buckeyes.
This is a tough game, and I think the opinions today shared by us, I know yours are never going to change because of the shirt you're wearing. If you told me my opinion changes 4 more times between now and that kick, I won't be shocked at all. Like, we do shows on the 30 and 31st. I don't know what I'm going to say. We'll find out. I kind of weirdly, and I can't explain this, I left Friday saying, I don't know about that coaching, man. I was never in question about the talent of Ohio State still giving a damn. And Chip Kelly's tweak from I have to run the football to I've got great weapons that I can just throw all day to, that had to have just been a big sigh of relief for Buckeye fan. Like, thank you, God, for recognizing where our strengths are. I'm curious what the 2 weeks off is going to mean for Oregon, the rust versus rest, all that stuff. If that's Ohio State, and that's a big if, I think I kind of lean the Buckeyes a little bit today.
Love it.
But I think this is going to be much like the first game. It's going to be who has the weird turnover, who has maybe the dumb play. Is it going to be Howard again not knowing when to slide to get the timeout? Is there a questionable call on one team versus the other? Even if I lean Ohio State, you have to just assume that game, no matter what, is going to be a lot like the first one.
I've seen some people joke that Oregon should wear their webfoot jerseys from the 2016 Washington game mixed with a Michigan helmet just to throw them off. Because I think if we learned anything about Ohio State this weekend, and really in the last month or so, first what they did to Indiana, then you lose to Michigan, and then you go out and you do this to Tennessee at home in a playoff game, that they clearly have some weird mental bugaboo when it comes to playing that maize and blue team. They cannot figure it out. It's 2 in their kitchen. They become a different version of themselves.
Right.
They don't know how to operate when they play Michigan. When they play anybody else, it's not a problem for them. Yeah. And I think my takeaway, honestly, like, I'm obviously going to pick Oregon to win the game. What the hell? Beat their ass once. Let's go beat them again.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous my team has to play Ohio State in the quarterfinals. I will continue to maintain that, and I will argue that again next week. I think my biggest takeaway is whoever wins that game is going to win a national championship. I think they're the 2 best teams in the country. Not to take – Texas is great. Georgia's awesome. Notre Dame's got an elite defense.
They'll get to prove it.
I think when it comes to complete balance on offense, being able to play defense at a high level, like all the things that you need to be able to do to win a title game and to be balanced to do it, I think they're the 2 best teams in the country, and I think whoever wins that game – will beat Texas or Arizona State, and will beat whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket.
Can I ask you quickly, watching Ohio State kind of pivot game plan-wise, because I've seen them throw it, but I've also seen them just, like, continue to force this run situation that's just not happening largely. I thought when he ran it, they ran it at perfect times. Like,
well, they threw to open up the pass.
Yes,
or they threw to open up the run.
Yeah. Right, and I thought it was well-timed that way. I this isn't to try to get you off the pick. You're not going to, and you shouldn't. Just seeing them do that with Jeremiah Smith,
I mean, they did it, honestly, in the first game. Go back and look.
I know Smith had a big game.
He had
in
a
that-
huge
in that
game.
one.
Howard had a huge game against Oregon.
I just wonder, though, like how differently the calls are going to be in certain moments this time versus what they were the previous time that they played.
Yeah, I the hard part that I have with that, there's Ohio State's going to score a ton of points on Oregon. Their offense is legit when they
bet
do
the
that.
over in
like,
this game is what I would do.
Bet the over. The first game was, what, 32-31 was the final, if I'm not mistaken?
yeah,
Somewhere in that
correct,
range?
yeah.
So, like, you had over 60 points in that game. The over-under, by the way, 54.5. So I tend to like the over in this game. I think the question that I would have is how much can Oregon change the defensive philosophy from what Tennessee did? That just makes more sense. Like Tennessee they had ultimate faith in their corners, which whatever, I guess if that's what you want to do, put them on islands and they got cooked the entire night.
They had to switch to a zone.
And it's just like, why are you not playing a too high shell saying, Ohio State, run the football. We're going to bracket Jeremiah Smith. We feel like our front 5, 6, 7 can slow down your run game without having to put extra bodies in the box. Instead, they came out, they were aggressive, came after him at the line of scrimmage, and they just got torched in the back end. They didn't have an answer for it. So I think Oregon's going to have a much different defensive philosophy. I also think the game planning is there for them because I'm sure they were ready to play them in the Big Ten title game. It didn't happen, but they had their game plan ready to go for that game, thinking it was going to be the opponent. And this isn't just hey, we found out we're playing you, now we got to play you in 2 weeks, where we didn't know we were going to play you to begin with.
Right.
So these teams know each other very well. The key for me for Oregon winning will come back to the thing that I've maintained kind of throughout the course of the year, and especially late in the season, is that I think Dylan Gabriel's that guy. Like, I think when the game's on the line, if I need any of these quarterbacks left in the playoff to put together a drive and to come up with a score, he's the guy that I want to have the ball more than anybody else that's left in the playoffs. And Oregon has a ton of weapons to go with him. So they're going to have Birch back. They didn't have him the first time they played Ohio State. Ohio State is still down 2 starting offensive linemen.
Tez got more rest.
Like, they're feeling healthy. They're feeling great. And Ohio State's injuries at their key positions have been season-ending. And so that's the other thing that I would lean on. But I don't blame anybody for picking Ohio State. They looked awesome on Saturday.
I don't think it is. I mean, look, everybody's going to say the take, but it's the most obvious thing. A lot of this just hinges on what does Oregon's defensive line do?
Yeah.
How much pressure does Howard get put on him? How much is he, forced to run it instead of maybe throwing a 20-yard pass to Egbuka or Smith or whoever whoever the hell it is? And so, like, sometimes it's as simple as that, really. And if Oregon's defensive line gets past that mash unit offensive line the way Tennessee couldn't quite do it, that kind of decides a lot of things. I'm with you in the sense of I don't know if I say the winner wins the title just because there's so many games in this thing.
It's a really tough road, no doubt.
That you don't know. It might just be the NFL 2.0, right? Like whoever's the most healthiest at the right time. But what I would say is it is a bummer it's at this point. That like maybe Texas, Ohio State aren't playing, and you take on Dillingham as like the old assistant versus the coach. And, there's an element of, I'm in no way a Duck fan. Everybody knows that. But I said this on the start of this tournament in this bracket, and I'll say it again. The way that they got treated for winning it.
For being 13-0.
Even though nothing is a given in this thing, in this season. But the way that they got treated for it and rewarded Penn State for losing was just wild to me.
Yeah, who would you rather play in the quarterfinals, Boise State or Ohio State?
Yeah, because I don't
Doesn't
think
mean Boise State can't win,
but I think it'd be the same as the last one.
Who would you rather play? It's not even close.
Right. On your jersey, have the Ducks designated their Rose Bowl jerseys yet? I haven't.
Don't think that they
are.
Have.
They bright blue, or are they going? Are they going to go red?
I think they're going to go red. Just throw everybody off. Go red on red. Game.
Look, we give them grief on this show, but I said this maybe off the air or on the air. I think I flipped my opinion. Their entire branding has been because they've been willing to be different. And
there'll be something silver in there. There's guaranteed to be something silver in there.
They're probably going to do something that pisses off traditionalists, but also, part of the reason they're here as this is because of that. It's been interesting and exciting to the younger players that come up.
There is a unconfirmed rumor of what the jerseys will be, but nothing substantial from the university. They released their cleats. The cleats are out.
What's the unconfirmed rumor?
It was the silver. They will always go silver helmets seemingly in the Rose Bowl because they like the reflection of the sunset. So they go the Chrome Dome. It was their green jersey with the O on the or the duck on the side, like the traditional green that they came out with this year with the yellow collar and white pants.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting to hear.
Okay.
I'm trying to visualize that in my head. That's interesting.
I think it was white pants, green jersey, silver
Chrome
lid,
dome.
chrome
Okay.
dome. That was the jersey that they were.
as long
that's
as some school
rumored to be
colors are in.
online currently. So we'll have to wait and see on that. The second half of New Year's Day, man. I'm going to be an absolute wreck. I am not excited. I mean, I am excited, but also just
I'm not going to text you once.
Heartburn and everything that's
Nope.
going to come with that game's not going to be fun.
Won't text you once.
I'm flying. We're traveling.
You're traveling that day?
Yeah, we're going to Spokane.
Don't you text hours later. Sorry, Dirt.
No,
if they
I
lose,
don't do
you
that.
cannot
Doing
do that.
okay?
Nope.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing okay. The second half of that, they do from Ohio State, Oregon, straight into Notre Dame, Georgia. New Year's Day is going to be a ton of fun, man. I can't wait. Let's get to a couple of odds and ends, including trademarks, RIP to a legend, one coach doing something incredibly shady, a couple of news and notes we'll get to next, but first, your Swag with Sports Center.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Big's Chicken. Try their smoked and fried wings, tossed with a perfect dry rub, served with a trio of killer sauces. Menus at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan. College football fans hoping for more drama in the quarterfinal round than they got in round one, where all the higher-seeded home teams advanced with convincing victories, including Ohio State thumping Tennessee. They'll get a rematch with number one ranked Oregon New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. Buckeyes have gone to 2.5-point favorites. Seahawks playoff hopes now down to the NFC West Division title after they lost to the Vikings 27-24. They need to win their final two games. They face the Rams in the last Sunday of the season. They need to hope their strength of victory will be good enough to win a tiebreaker. Monday Night Football from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The Packers 14-point favorites hosting the Saints, trying to keep up with the Vikings and the Lions in the NFC North. Blazers' final game before the holiday break has them in Dallas to face the Mavericks for a 5:30 tip on KATU Channel 2.2, Xfinity Channel 302. The Mavs are 10-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The original home of the Herd with Cullen
based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
That's a lie. Harry Bailey went to war. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He saved the lives of every man on that transport.
Every man on that transport died. Harry wasn't there to save them because you weren't there to save Harry. You see, George, you really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be to throw it away?
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Welcome back in, 8:37, grinding away on December 23rd. Nobody else here today. Should we start feuds with the other show? Other shows on the Fan? How many of them are in here today, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, they were in the office today.
Well, I think we were out most of the week that they were in, though.
That's true. A couple of odds and ends in my award-winning odds and ends segment of things that this is our only show of the week, so I want to make sure we get to them.
I kind of wanted you to just do this every segment, just kind of let it breathe for a while.
Let it play for a bit.
The background. Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs cheated again this weekend.
Did they?
We had two different instances of it. One was on what I thought was a clear fumble from Patrick Mahomes that got called not a fumble and roughing the passer.
Boy, these roughing the passer penalties. What was the one?
What are we doing?
Maybe it was the Mahomes play, or was there a college one where it happened?
They threw a flag on. It was at the end of the Commanders game.
They had one in that game, too?
They picked it up.
There was a college one. A kid got hit. Oh, it was the Ohio State game. Yeah. The number 97, the edge rusher, came off, and as Nico threw it, he's literally got the ball in his hand. The kid hits him, and because it looks like he's driving him to the ground, they threw the flag.
They gave him the pile driver.
These roughing the passer penalties, man. Face mask, get on it. Don't yank a face mask. The Mahomes roughing the passer penalty.
The ball was loose in his hand as his arm was coming forward.
And
that
he
was
got
a
hit
fumble.
on the shoulder pad / side of the helmet.
Yeah.
And then the Ohio State game. Like, we got to just stop this. It's ridiculous.
For the second time this year, too, by the way, the internet sleuths have found somebody other than the head coach, which, by the way, is not allowed in the NFL, calling a timeout. This time in the Kansas City game, it was their ball boy.
Well, he didn't call it. He threw the ref's attention.
He pointed his attention to Andy Reid because
yeah.
Andy Reid's fat ass can't get down the sideline quick enough. But that what? Mondaruski. God, I hate that team so much, and they get away with everything.
They
can't stand them.
I spragged the line on the Texans, which was stupid. But there was a moment in that game was tight. I think the Texans either tied or taking the lead. And they were up 10. It was 10-7. And there was a third down play. Mahomes threw it, and it bounced short of getting the first down. And I not in real time. As soon as the ball hit the ground incomplete, I went, here comes a flag.
Here it comes.
And then the flag icon pops up. Holding, defense, automatic first. And I'm like,
Yes, like clockwork.
Every time this happens.
One fan base in the Northwest was upset. One of their highly touted young players who had a really good year, Kamori House, if you don't know that name, he was a linebacker for the Huskies, and his true freshman year came on strong. He was awesome for them late in the season, especially. He entered the portal a week ago, and he ended up committing 3 days ago to North Carolina.
The Belichick.
You're like, oh, what's going on there? That's interesting. He committed North Carolina, and then yesterday it was reported that we all assume Steve Belichick is going to join his dad in North Carolina. And so many Husky fans thought, wait a minute, he was still on the staff for Washington, recruiting players off of his current team to go play for his new team. So that welcome to the new world of college football.
By the way, the most predictable thing was that Washington will lose in the D.C. there.
Yes, knew that was going to happen.
Like my tier to Oklahoma.
Bernard Langer cheated in the PNC championship, and I will hear no other answers other than that he cheated. He fluffed the ball in the sand. It is a scramble, but the way he teed it up, go look at the evidence of the pictures. He was teeing off 120 yards in front of Charlie Woods. We had the Woods potentially winning a golf tournament this weekend.
We had a Woods hole-in-one.
We had a Charlie Woods hole-in-one. Incredible content in the golf world. Great moment, and here comes this old bag with a cheating anchor putter, which should be illegal, teeing off essentially from the fairway. Mm-hmm. Give me a break. He won it for like the 13th time.
It's an exhibition.
It's not an exhibition to me, damn it.
It would have been better for your sport for the Woods to get that. Nobody paid attention to the duel again this year. The Bryson, Scotty. Like, I didn't even know it was happening that day.
Well, it was on a Tuesday night when there was actually stuff going. I think
I had it on my TV.
As the Cup final.
People are done with
the same night of the Cup
final. People
final.
are done with this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done with this weird golf thing that you think we're excited about?
No.
We're not excited.
Make up with Liv, figure out what they got to do to pay penance to get back with all the other players that didn't jump and take the bag, and start having
actual
all your
tournaments
best
again.
players playing in a lot of tournaments.
I respect your golf acumen. You are so wrong on this. This would have been massive for your sport. And it's a shame that they allowed this old bag to cheat
Thank you.
and win.
Thank
I know
you.
it's an exhibition.
It doesn't matter.
But
It's
that
real to
name,
me, damn it.
that name is golf. And if you have his kid not only hole out,
thank you,
but win the tournament with pops and daughter on the bag.
He burned an edge on an eagle putt on the playoff hole, too. He was so close to making it.
It would have been big for your sport. They already had a moment with a hole-in-one. If they would have won it, it would have popped up even more on people's algorithms.
People were joking, can he win money from the PIP, the player investment program or whatever, for that hole-in-one video? Because that's going to circulate probably more than any other PGA Tour highlight will this entire season.
Is his kid going to go to college or do the Corn Ferry Tour thing?
I don't know how old he is.
Well, they brought Q School back. You can
They
go
did.
straight from Q School now. They brought it back.
So is he going to do
and
that?
our local guy,
He's 15 years old, Charlie Woods.
Well, you know he's already got offers.
Or
on
an
that.
almost,
If
15.
Stanford doesn't have an offer to him right now, that'd be egregious.
Yeah, he'll have opportunities
I think
to go
it's
wherever he
just
wants.
how the level of emphasis that Tiger's going to put on a college education.
Well,
and
I don't
and a college experience if he wants that for Charlie. If he feels like his game's good enough to go, and it's also, if he feels like he can go and get success early on rather than go and grind, and because there's some 17-year-old kid out in Florida who's going to try to go pro
Make
now
the jump,
too.
yeah.
So
this
who
might
looked good, by the way? Tiger looked good.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
stop
going to
it.
do it again.
He
He's
looked
going to
good.
win the Masters.
He can't- He's in a cart.
He
can't-
walked all 36 holes, Jason Swigard. Huh? Golf show?
Here's the thing about
Look
this.
sharp.
This might sound
Wedges
really
were dialed.
corny and cheesy to you guys. When I watch their interactions, I just kind of tell myself, whether it be a lie or not, I just tell myself he's a great father right now in those kids' lives, and he's not his dad.
Yes.
Now, is any of that true? I actually don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
But I tell myself, man, what a dad.
Elin was there. He shared a hug with Elin.
I think they're cool.
Nordegren or whatever her name was. Yeah,
his ex-wife, yeah.
I'm just glad I could wedge golf into this show, and you guys actually played along with it. That was fantastic.
Well,
so
I
thank you for
saw
that.
a little bit of this. I watched.
all-
I didn't know it was on,
yeah.
and then I saw it on NBC.
No, we
after
almost
the-
had our local golfer who played at Union High School. He was one of Harold's pupils as a youth.
Yes.
Alistair Doherty was leading. He was tied for the lead at Q School. Double bogeyed the first hole in the final round. And he missed it. He birdied 17. He needed a birdie to get in a tie for fifth and get his card.
Damn, that's so close.
And he piped the drive on 18. And then the adrenaline took over, and he airmailed his second shot over the green. And I felt so bad for
You're
him.
that close. You're one
He's
shot
that
away from
close,
accomplishing your
and he
dream.
could have had his card, and it's just a cruel. Golf is such a cruel
Yes, it
reality.
is.
I drove
at
past
any level.
Tri Mountain on the day of Harold's 2-year anniversary that he passed, unfortunately. Where do you think he'd be at? You knew him better than I did, but I also had a funny relationship. Where do you think he's at on the take of it's better for golf for the Woods to have won and Langer not to have cheated? You or me? Whose side is he on, you think?
He was not the biggest Tiger fan.
Yeah.
He respected his game.
But for the sport's sake.
But for the sport's sake, he probably would have had a problem with Bernhard building
damn right he would.
Where he's teeing off from, teeing off 100 yards in front of a 15-year-old.
He would have said something like,
Guy
"Now
won
me?"
like 37 times on the senior tour last year. He's unbelievable. Move his tee box back. 2 more quick notes, and then we'll go. The Pac-12 has filed trademarks for the Pac-9, the Pac-10, Pac-11, Pac-13, and Pac-14.
I hope it stays at 10.
Well,
Can we
who's
stop?
going to be the next football team?
so
still
they
need a
currently have
football team.
8 right now? How many do they have?
They have 8 plus
8.
Stanford. Or no, 8 total. Yes, 7 plus Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Okay, 7 football members and then Gonzaga
Yeah.
for non-football. So they have filed trademarks, so we'll see where the expansion goes. But that
Go to
was a
10.
scoop that came out over the
It
weekend.
was the best when it was 10.
And last but not least, and we're not doing it much of it, so maybe we can carry this over to the final segment. Ricky Henderson passed away this
I know.
weekend.
We
Do we need
probably
to talk about that a little
yeah,
bit?
probably.
Okay.
Man.
He was the greatest
It's
of all time.
crazy where his steals are and the next closest active player.
If you want to talk about a record that's not going to be broken anytime
it.
soon,
Got to be up there.
that's near the top of
Nobody's
the list.
touching that. We'll get to that a little bit. A legend in the baseball world passed away. We'll send you on your way into the Christmas Eve next on the Fan.
It's time for To the House, the scoring plays that make football special. Brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
Kevin Jennings out of the pocket, rolling to his right at midfield, dumps one right, intercepted, wide open, Tony Rojas, and he breaks a tackle at the 40, down to the 30-yard line, into the open field, to the 20, to the 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
That's a great call. Bob was choosing, I believe, on ESPN in the SMU Penn State game. They threw 2 pick sixes. If you're a team trying to pull off an upset, PSA to you, don't throw pick sixes on the road.
Yeah, you don't spot Penn State 14 points. That game's probably really interesting in the second half. It got way out of hand and then too little too late. That second pick six return, remarkable playmaking.
It was. Really nice play by Penn State's defense. To the House brought to you by Smartline Home Design, a trusted local architectural design studio ready to bring your dream home to life. Visit smartlinehomedesign.com.
Dirt and Sprague.
Look at now you're talking, and this is football. When you got steam coming out of your head and your mouth, now you're talking football. You're controlling that offensive line. This is what it's all about. It's a playoff game. If you win, you go to the championship. Well, what are you talking about?
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Look at that steam coming out of the helmet. This is real football, Sprague. None of this dome crap, all right?
That
Outdoors, elements, baby.
Playoff game with Philadelphia, Dallas, and that was Nate Newton, who was seen on the sidelines of that clip steaming And I didn't put it in the cut, but he basically was like, you can barbecue on that head. And I just kept thinking, God, I miss you. I miss you so much.
I do too. Speaking of passing away too soon, happened this weekend in baseball.
I was stunned by this.
Ricky Henderson passed away, 25-year career, debuted in baseball in Major Leagues, 1979. He played all the way till 2003. One of the few guys, there's a lot of,
that's crazy.
Players that, obviously when we're older that we can remember. This is one of those that kind of spawned
Perfect
both of our
crossover.
lifetimes a little bit where it's like, we got to actually watch Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
You saw all of Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
Now, he obviously wasn't the guy in the last, 10 or so years that he was maybe in 1990 when he was winning an MVP.
When you talk about athletes who were one of a kind and performed at the highest level in their sport, he's on a short list.
Very short list.
He was 42 when Ricky debuted, Swag was. That's crazy.
He's all-time stolen base leader, 1,406.
I'm going to make
the
you play
next
that
closest.
He is the all-time
give
leader.
me the Wiener album.
In runs scored at 2,295. On top of that, to boast on his resume, he also hit the 3,000 hit mark.
Yep.
He had 297 career home runs. He was a career 279 hitter, which when you consider he played for 25 years is remarkable.
He was
to almost
the
be a
true
300
definition
hitter.
of a leadoff hitter.
Yes.
He's leading off in heaven right now.
That's right.
He is a...
He's telling Jesus how great Ricky was great.
You know what,
I don't if you
honestly,
saw those,
I
but-
want to be around for that conversation with God.
God, that'd be so good, wouldn't it?
I'm the greatest of all time.
Look, we go through so much of the NBA is going through this a lot right now. What's wrong with the league? Nobody's watching. Why is the NBA broken? Baseball goes through this constantly of why aren't more people watching? What's everybody's trying to hit home runs? Blah, blah. When he passed away, I was just, watching old interviews and some of the funny stories that people said about him. Harold Reynolds had one where Ricky got hurt in a year in the 90s, and he ended up winning the stolen base crown. And he said that Ricky Henderson called him and made fun of him for only having 61 stolen bases to win the title because he was like, Ricky would have had 110. Ricky would have had 120. There's a lot of those great stories floating around. But my thought was, honestly, this is what baseball's missing. Not only in terms of a style of play and an intensity, but a personality on top of it. And he had the total package.
No doubt he is telling God how great he is compared to God, which is, R.I.P.
God couldn't steal 100 bases.
You made me in your image, which makes me better. Can you guess the closest person actively playing to him in stolen bases?
Oh, God.
You can't do it.
There's no chance.
Starling Marte, who has 354. He is over 1,000 away from Ricky Henderson. This will never be broken. No.
Who's closest in runs scored, too?
Oh, God.
2,295 runs scored.
I don't know.
Freddie's
Closest
got a
active?
lot.
Look it up.
I don't know who's still around at the end of their careers right now.
Yeah, Freddie's probably not a bad one. Wild stuff, man. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Ricky Henderson.
R.I.P. to Ricky Henderson. Well, that's it. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Please be safe. Be with your family and friends, and
leave those cookies out.
Eat those cookies.
Eat those. What?
What? We will be back next Monday.
Yeah, we will.
We're off the rest of the week. So
Monday, Tuesday.
We'll have a Hot Corner edition on Friday.
Okay.
I'll be in with the Hot Corner boys.
Okay. There you go. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for being a part of our December 23rd show. We will talk to you next Monday at 6 a.m. Colin is next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.